Chapter 101. The mountaintop of Mount Garuda was littered with corpses and blood. It was a gruesome scene. The pungent smell of blood filled the air and filled the air. Tang Linglong and Jiang Lin hugged each other tightly. Their eyes were wide open and their faces were pale. They couldn't believe what they had just seen. Jiang Lin originally thought that the other party had set up a vicious trap and ambush, and that her idiot cousin would definitely die. However, he did not expect that Jiang Tian would only use 1 minute to sweep through the entire battlefield and kill his opponent. Is this really my useless cousin? Looking at the corpses and blood all over the ground, Jiang Lin felt as if she had fallen into a dream. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. I had never thought that Master would be so powerful. Tang Linglong felt a chill run down her spine. She remembered the faint smile on Jiang Tian's face when she said that Jiang Tian was a good man. She finally understood the meaning behind Jiang Tian's smile. By then, Jiang Tian's malice chi had reached the heavens. It was as if he was a demon god that could crush the gods and Buddhas. Jiang Lin couldn't help but tremble in fear. However, on second thought, she realized that she was his disciple and no one would dare to bully her. She felt proud and smug again. I finally got to see the true face of Master Kong. Even Qiugong was taken aback. He pointed a finger at Hong Tianzhao and scolded, "You bastards! Now that you know what Master Kong is capable of, kneel down and beg for mercy." At this moment he was truly elated. "Hehe, so you are the young Grandmaster of Jiangbei, Kong Teichu." Hong Tianzhao smiled arrogantly and stepped forward with a cold sneer. "That's right, it is me." Jiang Tian didn't deny it. "You have reached the transcendent state at such a young age. That is commendable. You might even become a grandmaster in the future. Unfortunately, your opponent is me." Hong Tianzhao snorted disdainfully. He was full of confidence as if victory was already in his grasp. "I have reached the initial transcendent state 5 years ago, and now I have reached the phenomenal transcendent state. Killing you is as easy as chopping grass." As he spoke, he flicked his finger. With a chi sound, a blade of genuine chi shot into the stone table and pierced through it. Jiang Lin tensed up. A transcendent master was as powerful as an immortal. If Jiang Tian were to fight him, it would be hard to say who would win. Wait. Elder Bu Swansea stretched out his hand to stop them. He looked at Jiang Tian sincerely and said, "Mr. Jiang, this old man admires your talent in alchemy. If you join Shenong School and become a consecrator, we will treat you as a distinguished guest. Sect leaders will love's talents as much as his own life. He will definitely teach you how to concoct pills and make medicine. If you are willing to join Shenong School, then you are my friend. I will naturally shake hands and make peace with you. Otherwise, it will be a fight to the death." Hong Tianzhao said with a nasty grin. Ms. Mange's face was devoid of any murderous intent. She smiled gently and said, "A single piece of silk cannot make a thread, and a single tree cannot make a forest. Kong Teichu, if you join Shenong School, you will have a powerful backer. Moreover, you will be able to read our precious books and receive sect leaders' personal instruction." Among the 3 people, some were playing the good cop while the other was playing the bad cop. They were trying to coerce Jiang Tian into joining Shenong School. If Jiang Tian were to join them, they would have no choice but to hand over the elixir recipes and alchemy techniques. Oh my God! Becoming a consecrator and receiving sect leaders was personal instruction. Many martial artists were envious. What a great opportunity this is. If it were me, I would definitely say yes. Chen Bo's eyes turned red with envy. That's right, this is such a good opportunity. A martial artist echoed. Zhuo Zimu, the head of the Shenong School, was known as the elixir master. His ability to refine elixirs and make medicine was more powerful than that of the Chuanjin School, which was also from the Danding School. If they could get his guidance, wouldn't it be a great fortune? However, Jiang Tian smiled disdainfully and said, "Zhuo Zimu wants to instruct me in alchemy? Does he deserve it? He's not even fit to be my apprentice when it comes to refining pills." "You are so arrogant and ignorant," Bu Swansea shouted. His face was red with anger. Ms. Mange shook her head slightly. It seemed that Jiang Tian's choice was very unwise. "Forget it. Since this guy is so shameless, let's do it. Hong Tianzhao's eyes were so cold that they seemed to be able to kill people. His face became gloomy. He heaved a long sigh and said, "Well, today, I will let him know the foundation of a Wu Dao Grand Master." "You deserve to be called a Grand Master? Then the Grand Masters in Hua Xia's martial arts world are like grass dogs and chickens." Jiang Tian scanned him with his divine sense and then said with a disdainful smile. As soon as he said that, there was a dead silence. Hong Tianzhao had been famous for more than 10 years. He was a real Wu Dao Grand Master and ranked 20th on the divine list. Compared to him, Li Zhenwei, who had been famous for many years in Lingnan, was like trash. Do you know that Grand Masters are like dragons? You can't humiliate a Grand Master. Anyone who humiliates a Grand Master will be killed immediately. Hong Tianzhao's face darkened and was full of anger. "Ha, Grand Masters are like dragons? Calling you a bug is a compliment. Arrogant fool." Jiang Tian laughed as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. These people were too ignorant. They thought that they were invincible after reaching the transcendent state. They didn't have the terrifying strength of an immortal cultivator. In the extraterritorial space, any early-stage qi refinement cultivator could crush them like ants. Arrogant fool? A Grand Master is worse than a bug. All the martial artists present were shocked. You are indeed powerful, but you shouldn't be so arrogant. Humph. Kong Teichu, you arrogant and ignorant kid. You are courting death today. Don't blame me. I will kill you. Hong Tianzhao raised his eyebrows and stomped his feet on the ground. Suddenly, he rose into the air like a big bird. Oh my God! Patriarch Hong actually flew up. That's awesome. Grand Masters are like dragons. They are like dragons in the sky. When will I be able to fly more than 10 meters? That's fine too. Stop dreaming. The martial artists present all exclaimed in surprise. Especially the few guards of the Hong clan, they were even more flattering and flattering. They even said shameless things like, "Lord Hong is a divine dragon who has come down from the heavens. He will rule the world for thousands of years. Ling Long, Duke Qiu, protect Jiang Lin and retreat." Jiang Tian waved his hand. The three of them retreated 10 meters. Jiang Tian put his hands behind his back and stepped into the air. It was as if there were transparent glass steps under his feet. He took another step and rose again. After 8 steps, Jiang Tian stood in the air. His clothes were fluttering in the wind. He looked like an immortal or a demon. So powerful. Shen Meng's face changed drastically. At least in terms of lightness skill, Jiang Tian was not inferior at all. Master is so cool. Tang Linglong's beautiful eyes rolled. Her delicate red lips trembled slightly. Her beautiful eyes were full of admiration. Is he still a human? Looking at Jiang Tian, who was standing in the air like a god, Jiang Lin could not connect him with her useless cousin. Hong Tianzhao took advantage of the falling momentum and swooped down. He pulled out a long golden sword and slashed at Jiang Tian. Streaks of golden sword aura condensed in the air. They were flickering as if they were real. The sword aura was endless and swept toward Jiang Tian. The sword aura was like a raging sea. Every sword aura was extremely sharp, as if it could tear the sky and split the earth. Raging sea sword art, flaming gold divine sword. Elder Bu Swansea exclaimed. His eyes were filled with shock and even envy. The raging sea sword art was passed down from the Tianshan sect. Hong Tianzhao's ancestors were from the Tianshan sect. He learned the sword art from there and passed it down. Even now, the Hong family and the Tianshan sect still had a close relationship. This set of sword art was continuous and had both offense and defense. It could be considered the Hong family's ultimate technique. The flaming gold divine sword was also a sharp weapon. It was ranked in the top 30 on the Hua Xia martial arts divine weapon list. It was second only to the famous 7 swords in the Tianshan sect. Not only could it cut through hair, but it was also carved with fire elemental Dao patterns. It had the effect of increasing the attack of the sword aura. It could condense a high-temperature sword aura. Even a grandmaster would have to retreat. Wherever the flaming gold divine sword passed, The air would be torn, the rocks would crumble, and the dust would fly. The sharp sword aura left deep marks on the hard rocks and intertwined with each other. This was just the edge of the sword aura. If it swept across a person's body, they would immediately be turned into meat paste. He used his trump card right from the start. Is there such a way to fight? Seeing this scene, even Qiu Gong became nervous. With such a sword art and such a treasure sword, even Jiang Tian would be in danger. No wonder he is a grandmaster on the divine list. He is too powerful. How can Kong Techu be his match? Shen Mainge's eyes were filled with admiration. She then looked at Jiang Tian with disdain, as if he was already a dead man. Come on, brat. I will tear you into pieces today. After countless sword auras, Hong Tianzhao's hair fluttered in the wind. He was like a mad tiger as he let out a loud roar. Bah! In response, Jiang Tian spat on his palms and rubbed his hands together. His actions were extremely vulgar, which was very different from his usual carefree attitude. Tear you into pieces? Bastard, you think you are so great? I will slap you to death. Jiang Tian smiled mockingly. Then, as if he was swatting a mosquito, he lightly slapped his palm. Immortal martial 18 forms. Heaven-covering hand. What a pity that Master Kong doesn't have a suitable weapon. Qiu Gong's heart skipped a beat. He quickly pulled the two girls back. Jiang Tian was a transcendent grandmaster, but Qiu Gong didn't know what level of transcendent state he was at. However, Jiang Tian had just risen to power, so he should be at the initial transcendent state. However, his opponent was a transcendent state grandmaster who had been famous for 10 years. More importantly, Jiang Tian was unarmed and his opponent had the advantage of a weapon. How could he not be afraid? However, as Jiang Tian struck out with his palm, a surging aura covered a large area like a cloud in the sky. It swept through the entire area like a hurricane, blowing all the cultivators off their feet and causing them to stagger back. Crack, crack. How is that possible? Hong Tianzhao, who was blown up and down by the strong wind, looked at the scene in front of him in disbelief. He was dumbfounded. Suddenly, his vision blurred and Jiang Tian appeared in front of him like a ghost. The two fingers in his eyes were getting bigger and bigger. Hong Tianzhao couldn't dodge in time. With a loud bang, Jiang Tian poked his eye socket. Hong Tianzhao screamed and backed away. He almost fell from the sky. However, Jiang Tian wasn't done yet. Following that, he shamelessly kicked him in the crotch, ruthlessly kicking his crotch. Ouch! Hong Tianzhao fell to the ground like a dead dog. He held his crotch and twitched uncontrollably. Then he looked at his face. His eye sockets were bruised like a panda's and his face was covered in tears. Chapter 102. Oh my God! Is there such a way of fighting? How could it be so simple and crude? Everyone was astonished, completely in a predicament. The legendary duels between grandmasters were spectacular, unrestrained, and magnificent. It was like a battle between immortals. It was said that many years ago, Yi Zhantian of the dragon group of Huaxia and Lin Zhenyu, the leader of the Big Circle, had a shocking battle at the West Lake. With a wave of their sleeves, they formed a wall and condensed rain into an arrow, causing huge waves of more than 10 meters high in the West Lake. However, Jiang Tian's fighting style was no different from a street brawl, if you ignored the fact that Jiang Tian was flying in the air. Shameless! Shen Mange shouted in disdain. However, Hong Tianzhao himself was frightened. When Jiang Tian approached him, he was actually enveloped by an extremely strong aura. It was as if he was in a cement bucket, unable to move at all. He could only let Jiang Tian poke his eyes. It seems that this guy's body is very strong. I'm afraid I'll be at a disadvantage in close combat. As Hong Tianzhao thought of this, he roared and swung his flaming gold sword horizontally, vertically, up and down, sending out hundreds of chi swords in a row. The chi swords were condensed in the air and hovered there for a long time. They were surrounded by flames. Under the scorching sun, they reflected a dazzling light. Finally, he slashed with his sword and shouted, "Profound meaning of the raging sea sword technique, fire dragon goes to sea." At this time, hundreds of chi swords were activated by him. They were connected head to tail and shot out shoulder to shoulder. They formed a 3-meter-long sword dragon. Wherever the sword dragon passed, the temperature was extremely high. Even the mountain rocks were burned to the point of cracking. Even if a veteran grandmaster was here, he would be flustered and have a headache trying to deal with them. The sword dragon let out a strange roar that sounded like a dragon's roar. It carried a berserk-killing intent as it twisted and twisted, trapping Jiang Tian within. The dragon head then charged towards Jiang Tian, who had landed on the platform. The strongest move of the Raging Sea Sword technique. Coupled with the support of the Flame Gold Sword, its power has multiplied. Bu Xuanzi gasped in amazement, his face filled with fascination. This despicable and shameless brat is definitely going to die. Shen Mange asserted with a look of certainty. Is this the power of a grandmaster? Fire dragon. When he saw the fire dragon goes to sea, Chen Bo's face turned deathly pale. His eyes almost popped out of their sockets, and he wished he could prostrate himself in worship. Is he still human? Jiang Lin's beautiful eyes were wide open, and her pretty face was deathly pale. She felt that Hong Tianzhao was not a human at all, but a god that could overturn rivers and seas. Hong Tianzhao's use of sword qi has reached the acme of perfection. Qiu Gong stomped his feet anxiously and muttered, "Why isn't Master Kong dodging? This is really dangerous." The sword qi of the fire dragon goes to sea was already incomparably sharp, and there was nothing it could not penetrate. With the addition of the high-temperature flames, it was even scarier. Unless a normal grandmaster had a defensive Dharma treasure, they would have to retreat in time. However, Jiang Tian allowed him to surround him. At this moment, Qiu Gong could not help but sigh regretfully. Although Jiang Tian was extremely talented, he had only been famous for a short period of time and had too little battle experience. He was instantly placed in a dangerous situation. The group of martial artists and the people guarding the perimeter were even more dazzled. They felt dizzy and their hearts were in a daze. After using the fire dragon goes to sea, Hong Tianzhao calmed down. He raised his sword and laughed coldly. "Kong Teichu, what do you think of my fire dragon goes to sea? What do you think? What a piece of trash." Jiang Tian, who was surrounded by the fire dragon sword qi, was calm and composed. He smiled faintly, and the corner of his lips curled into a disdainful smirk. "Arrogant brat, you are still so stubborn even when you are about to die." Hearing this, Hong Tianzhao was so angry that he wanted to jump up and curse. However, when the head of the sword dragon was about to touch Jiang Tian, Jiang Tianyu's jade white palm reached out and then suddenly clenched, grabbing the sword qi with his bare hands. Crack, crack. Jiang Tian actually crushed that sharp and scorching sword qi into pieces with a single pinch. How is this possible? Hong Tianzhao was so shocked that his eyes almost popped out. So weak. Jiang Tian opened his right hand and easily controlled the dragon head. He shook his head in disappointment and sighed. Then he clenched his left hand and raised it up high. He twisted his body and lightly punched the middle of the sword dragon. In the eyes of ordinary people, this punch was light and powerless. It was like a child in the park in the early morning, imitating a cat to draw a tiger to perform Taiji fist. However, those who knew what was going on felt their hearts skip a beat. The power of this punch was like a meteorite falling from the sky, or like the collapse of Mount Buzhou. With a loud bang, the sword dragon instantly shattered under Jiang Tian's punch. Instantly, it was like a thunderclap exploding, causing the ground to shake and dust to fly into the air. A violent shock wave swept out in all directions, blasting everyone to the point of being thrown off their feet. There were even people who vomited blood crazily. Streams of broken sword power darted out in all directions, riddling the surrounding stone tables and chairs with thousands of holes, making them roll on the ground. When the wind stopped and the dust settled, Jiang Tian, who was in the eye of the storm, walked out slowly and lazily. His face was calm and relaxed. He smiled and said, "Fighting like this is more or less interesting. Hong Tianzhao, what other tricks do you have? Hurry up and use them." Even the profound meaning of the fire dragon goes to sea can be broken. and he broke it with his physical body. Hong Tianzhao was dumbfounded. He couldn't believe it. His face was pale, and for the first time, fear appeared on his face. He was so shocked that he was about to go crazy. The sword aura of his fire dragon goes to sea could even crush a small car, but it was broken by Jiang Tian with a light punch just like that. Was there any justice left? I've never seen such a terrifying physical body. Such a powerful physical body only appeared in ancient times. Bu Xuanzi was also shocked. Jiang Tian's strength was beyond his imagination. It was too terrifying. I underestimated him after all. Shen Mange's pretty face was also pale. For the first time, she wondered if she was wrong to set up this trap. This guy is not human, he's a demon. He's a demon. Oh my god, I actually bullied a demon. I'm finished. I'm really finished. As for Qinbo, he had already collapsed to the ground. His pants were wet. He was so scared by Jiang Tian that he wet himself. Hong Tianzhao, you've made your moves again and again. Now it's my turn, right? Jiang Tian looked at Hong Tianzhao. His face was calm and his tone was light. Jiang. Hong Tianzhao hadn't decided whether to fight to the death or beg for mercy, but Jiang Tian had already waved his fingers. Star River Break. Jiang Tian raised his eyebrows and shouted in a low voice. Suddenly, a sword light about 3 meters long, as big as a door, swept across the sky. Tiangang Sword Formation. The sword light in Hong Tianzhao's eyes grew bigger and bigger. With a roar, he stomped his feet on the ground. Kacha! Amidst a series of explosions, sword lights shot up into the sky like golden lotuses from the ground. Streaks of dazzling golden sword radiance surrounded by flames spun in circles. The sword radiance spun faster and faster until they were indistinguishable from each other. It was as if an iron bucket was protecting his surroundings. Tiangang Protective Sword Formation. This is the strongest defensive move in the Raging Sea Sword technique. Shen Mange's delicate body trembled, and her eyes were filled with shock. She sighed in her heart. A grandmaster was indeed a grandmaster. His strength was not something she could compete with. The Tiangang Sword Formation was just like the Qi Shield formed by a veteran grandmaster and the legendary Qi Armor formed by an immortal state grandmaster. It could even withstand a barrage of machine guns and could withstand the bombardment of cannonballs for a while. Is this your ultimate move? Jiang Tian laughed coldly. His hand did not stop as he waved his finger downward. Swish! One sound. The Star River Break Qi sword landed on the Tiangang Sword Formation without hesitation. The indestructible Tiangang Sword Formation was cut open like a piece of beef in front of a hot knife. The Star River Break Qi sword flew into the air. With a puff, Hong Tianzhao's head flew up into the air. The blood in his neck gushed up 3 or 4 meters into the air and spilled onto the ground like a blood flower. Then, the Tiangang Sword Formation shattered and disappeared. The headless body fell to the ground and lay motionless. Hong Tianzhao, the lord of the Hong family in Yi Province, a transcendent state grandmaster on the immortal role in Huaxia, was dead. A deadly silence fell over the area. Everyone was dumbfounded. They couldn't believe it. Jiang Tian had killed a few powerful grandmasters, shattered the sword Qi dragon with his bare hands, destroyed the Tiangang Sword Formation and killed the Transcendent State Grandmaster, Hong Tianzhao. Was he still human? Everyone trembled as if they had fallen into an ice cellar. They didn't have the slightest intention to resist. All they felt was fear and horror. Now, do you admit defeat? Jiang Tian stepped on the pool of blood and turned around leisurely. He glanced at Bu Xuanzi and Shen Mange and asked lightly. At this moment, he had a calm demeanor. The dust and smoke from earlier had not stained his body at all. His white robes made him look like a flawless immortal. We admit defeat. All the guards of the Lu family knelt on the ground and bowed. We admit defeat. The 2 disciples of the Niu family of Chap Guaquan also knelt down and kowtowed. If the disciples of the Tang sect ever meet Master Kong, we will stay away from him as a sign of respect. The disciples of the Tang sect also knelt on the ground and said fearfully, "The Wang family of Luoyang also admits defeat." We admit defeat. Many overlords and forces also knelt down and bowed their heads. This idiot cousin of mine is actually so powerful. He is like an immortal. Looking at the many cultivators on the platform kneeling on the ground and worshipping Jiang Tian, Jiang Lin felt as if she had fallen into a dream, her face filled with disbelief. Bastard, how dare you bully me? However, she suddenly noticed Qin Bo kneeling on the ground in the crowd. She immediately angrily rebuked him and walked up to him. She proudly asked, "You still dare to make this young miss kneel? Miss Jiang, I won't do it again." Fearing that Jiang Tian would crush him to death, Chen Bo was so scared that his soul almost left his body. He shivered and kowtowed like he was pounding garlic. "Slap him." Jiang Lin took off her shoes, pinched Chen Bo's chin and started to slap him. Smack, smack, smack. The sound of the slap echoed in the square. Jiang Lin beat him until his cheeks were bruised and swollen. His snot and blood were flying everywhere and his teeth were almost falling out. "Miss Jiang, please spare me. I won't do it again." Ouch, 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 ouch. Chen Bo screamed and begged for mercy. Ever since Jiang Lin could remember, she had never felt so elated and happy as she did today. As she fought, she thought of Jiang Tian's words. In a life-and-death battle, not only do you need to be cautious, but you also need to be bold and powerful. When enemies meet on a narrow path, only the brave will win. You are slick and thoughtful, but you lack the courage to fight a bloody battle to the death. At that time, she only felt that Jiang Tian was arrogant, conceited, and ignorant. He was simply courting death. Now she realized that what Jiang Tian said was priceless advice. The point was that he really had the courage to say it. Chapter 103. Seeing Jiang Lin flaunting her might, Jiang Tian faintly smiled and let it be. In the end, Jiang Tian's eyes fell on Elder Bu Xuanzi. He said lightly, "Elder Bu, what about Shenong School?" Dio Xuanzi's body trembled slightly, but after all, he was the elder of the Danding School. He calmed down quickly and said in a deep voice, "Great Alchemy Master Jiang, it's true that our Shenong School offended the Master. But it's better to squash enmity than to keep it alive. How about we turn hostility into friendship? It's better to make friends than enemies? That's just nonsense." Jiang Tian laughed and said disdainfully, "Even if I, Jiang Taichu, whip the world, sweep through the world, and make the world my enemy, so what?" Years ago, Jiang Tian proved his Tao by killing. He was invincible in the world. If he always tolerated and compromised, how could he achieve what he had in the past? In this world, resources were limited, but people's desires were infinite. Most of the time, it was a life-and-death struggle. "Kong Taichu, how arrogant of you." Hearing this, Elder Bu's face was full of anger. He sneered and said, "You are indeed powerful, but do you know that Shenong School has thousands of disciples and 3 transcendent elders and even a perfected cultivator? Do you really want to fall out with Shenong School?" "Ha, a group of small fries." Jiang Tian looked down at Bu Xuanzi as if he was looking at an ant. He sneered and said, "You should know that Shenong School is doomed from the moment you decided to set up the trap and poison me. Shenong School will either be removed from the list or kneel down and surrender to me, Kong Taichu. Your sect leader and elder should be my apprentices in alchemy, blowing the wind and blowing the fire. Do you understand?" As soon as these words were spoken, everyone was shocked. Everyone was dumbfounded. Jiang Taichu's tone was too arrogant. Let the Shenong sect be exterminated. Let the whole Shenong school kneel down to you and worship you. Even if you are a young guru, the other side has several gurus, a mountain protection formation, countless magic treasures, thousands of disciples, a deep foundation, and a lot of people. How can one person shake such a big sect with a history of hundreds of years? Rude brat. How arrogant. Do you think you're so great just because you're a grandmaster? Shen Mange flew into a rage, and so did the other disciples. They were so angry that their faces turned red, and they cursed loudly. Originally, the old man cherished talents and wanted to give you a way out. But you don't know when to advance or retreat. I gave you face, but you don't want it. Forget it, forget it. Today I'll beat you to death. Elder Bu Xuanzi shook his head and sighed. Suddenly, he turned his hand, took out a black streamer, and threw it at Jiang Tian. This black streamer was like a small flag. As soon as it was waved, ghost qi and strange wind whistled. On the platform, dark clouds rolled, and sand and stones flew, covering the sky and the sun. Clang! With a sound, a ghost general in iron armor jumped down from the black streamer. He was covered in blood, and he held a long spear in his hand. He pierced it toward Jiang Tian. It's a fierce ghost soldier. My God, it's a black streamer of 10,000 souls. Shen Mange felt cold all over, and she looked at Elder Bu Swansea with respect. It was said that Bu Swansea used to be the head of the Een Ghost sect, a big sect of devil cultivators. More than 10 years ago, when he was refining a magic treasure, he was bitten by the Een Ghost and became seriously ill. He went to Shenong School and was cured by the head of the Shenong School. He was grateful to the head of Shenong School and returned to Shenong School. The black streamer of 10,000 souls was a devil sect treasure of the Een Ghost sect. It had a strong background and was very powerful. It was said that during the end of the Ming dynasty and the beginning of the Qing dynasty, the head of the Een Ghost sect worked for Li Chengdong, the head of the Qing dynasty's Wu Song army. After he conquered Jiading, he slaughtered hundreds of thousands of people who fought against the Qing dynasty. During this process, the head of the Een Ghost sect used hundreds of thousands of souls to create this black streamer of 10,000 souls. When he waved it on the battlefield, the ghost soldiers and ghost generals immediately appeared, and millions of people died. He contributed greatly to the Qing dynasty's conquest of the southern Ming dynasty. Mange, you have a good eye. Today, this old man will use this black streamer of 10,000 souls to kill Kong Teichu. Bu Swansea was full of confidence. He shouted and waved the black streamer of 10,000 souls. Suddenly, 7 or 8 ghost soldiers and ghost generals came out together. Some of them were holding swords, some were holding swords, and some were holding spears. They all charged towards Jiang Tian. These ghost soldiers and ghost soldiers had been tortured to death. They were full of resentment and ghost qi. When they walked past, black qi lingered in the air, withered the grass, and withered the flowers. Among them, there were many ghost kings and ghost generals. Their combat power was terrifying. They could kill an internal force user with one slash. Oh my God, what is this thing? It's so scary. Jiang Lin's face turned pale when she saw this. She trembled and ran away. You want to fight me, Jiang Taichu, with just these little ghosts? Jiang Tian's eyes were full of disdain. He laughed out loud. Then he waved his hand and said, Sword. Kacha. Coins flew out from his backpack and formed the banishing evil golden sword. What kind of magic weapon is this? Seeing this, Shen Mange's pretty face showed a little worry. Humph, bluff. Elder Bu Swansea said with disdain, who in this world can cultivate both magic and martial arts? He must have spent a lot of effort to cultivate martial arts to such a level. How can he have time to cultivate magic arts? His eyes were full of contempt and confidence. It seemed that Jiang Tian would be killed by the ghost soldiers in the next moment. Sword in hand, Jiang Tianxin waved his hand, and a bright golden light swept in all directions like mercury flowing down the ground. The ghost soldiers and ghost soldiers screamed. In less than a second, they were shattered by the sword light. Moreover, a huge suction force was formed. The black ghost qi suddenly rolled back and rolled. The banishing evil golden sword was like a whale swallowing a cow. It absorbed all the black ghost qi. The sharp golden sword light didn't stop after destroying the ghost soldiers and ghost soldiers. With a bang, the black banner in Bu Swansea's hand was smashed into pieces. Under Elder Bu Swansea's shocked gaze, Jiang Tian put away the coins and sneered, "You want to use this broken thing to cast magic? What a disgrace!" Elder Bu Swansea looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief. His eyes were full of resentment. He secretly made up his mind, "Boy, you are so ruthless. My magic weapon is broken. I can't do anything to you for the time being. When I return to the sect, I will report to the sect leader and let the elders and masters in the sect attack together. They will tear you into pieces. What are you looking at?" Jiang Tian suddenly glared at him. He looked like a rough northeastern man with a big gold chain and a small gold watch at a barbecue stall. He was extremely rude and unreasonable. Jiang Tian didn't give Bu Xuanzi a chance to shout, "What's wrong with looking at you?" He raised his hand and slapped. With a bang, a millstone-like chi palm blasted out. "How dare you!" Elder Bu Xuanzi didn't even finish exclaiming in shock when his body was slapped apart by the enormous palm, causing blood to spray out as he was blasted, flying like a rag doll before falling to the ground and taking his last breath. Elder Bu, Shin Mange's face was splashed with blood. She suddenly trembled and cried out in alarm. She couldn't believe that this was real. He was an elder of Shenong School. He was an expert. Behind him was a huge monster like Shenong School. In terms of status, he was second only to the sect leader. Even Hong Tianzhao had to be courteous to him when they met. But Jiang Tian killed him without hesitation. It was like killing a grass dog without the slightest hesitation. Seeing this, many martial artists were so scared that they trembled all over. They didn't dare to make a sound. If it was said that Jiang Tian killing Hong Tianzhao had shocked everyone, but now that Jiang Tian had killed Elder Dianzi, it could be said that everyone was stunned. He's simply a big devil. He's desperate and crazy. It doesn't matter how powerful anyone's background is. Chen Bo's swollen cheek muscles trembled. He couldn't help but pee again. Now, is there anyone else who doesn't agree? Jiang Tian glanced at the crowd. His face was calm, as if killing Elder Bu was like killing an ant. This time, everyone lowered their heads and trembled. They didn't dare to look at Jiang Tian. "We're waiting for the disciples of Shenong School to surrender." At this moment, even Shin Mange couldn't stand it anymore. She bowed down with a face full of humiliation. With such ability, not to mention protecting the Jiang family, he's invincible even in Huaxia. Jiang Lin looked at Jiang Tian with reverence as she clenched her fists. It was as if she had obtained a huge backer and something to rely on. After Jiang Tian erased their memories with his powerful divine sense, these martial artists were dismissed by Jiang Tian with a wave of his hand. At night, back at the Medicine Capital Hotel, Jiang Lin dressed up and rushed to Jiang Tian's room excitedly. She saw the high and mighty Shen Mange sitting next to Jiang Tian like a bullied little wife. Chen Bo was kneeling on the ground like a loyal servant, making tea for Jiang Tian and the others. Jiang Tian, on the other hand, looked relaxed and calm. He was sitting on the sofa with his legs crossed. He had the imposing manner of a great grandmaster. "Jiang Tian, no, Grandmaster Jiang, did I come at the wrong time?" Jiang Lin's heart skipped a beat as she asked in a trembling voice. "You're also called Master Kong? Funny." Jiang Tian waved his hand and said with a gentle smile, "No matter how much friction and unhappiness we had when we were young, you're still my cousin. Blood ties were something that no one could sever. Sit down." Jiang Lin was so moved that she almost shed tears. She silently sat next to Jiang Tian. "Master Kong, that's it. Those herbs were irrigated by the spiritual qi water condensed by the Shenong cauldron and produced the greenwood aura." Shen Mange finished her report. "Well, the cauldron is made of wood. It should be made of greenwood spiritual liquid. It should be made of 1,000-year-old greenwood. It can be used as the greenwood material for my 5 elements gathering array." Jiang Tian smiled faintly and said, "Well, let's rest for 2 days. We'll leave for Shenong School the day after tomorrow." What are you going to do at Shenong School?" Shen Mange was shocked and asked in a trembling voice. "Of course, I'm going to kill you and take your treasures. You little kid made a mistake. Of course, I'm going to ask your parents to take responsibility." Jiang Tian cracked the melon seeds and spat the shells on the ground. Chen Bo quickly knelt down and picked them up. "Master Kong, you don't have to fight to the death." Shen Mange was obviously much older than Jiang Tian, but he called her a little kid. She was so angry that her face turned pale. But when she thought of Jiang Tian's invincible power, she didn't dare to act rashly. She smiled sweetly and pulled Jiang Tian's big hand to Jiang Tian's side and said softly, "You should know that I'm the descendant of the Shen family in Yanjing and the chief disciple of Shenong School. In the future, Shenong School will be in my hands. So what?" Jiang Tian glanced at her. Chapter 104. This woman had snow-white skin, picturesque eyebrows, a slender and exquisite figure, a slender waist, undulating breasts, and a plump buttocks. Her shirt collar revealed a deep, snow-white cleavage, which made people daydream. She was a cultivator, so her temperament was ethereal. However, she had experienced the world of mortals, which made her even more charming and enchanting. Her every frown and smile could captivate people's souls. She was absolutely enchanting. Seeing Jiang Tian looking at her, Shen Meng's face was full of shyness. She said coquettishly, "I'm not married yet. Why don't I marry you first? Then you can join Shenong School. At that time, you'll have the support of Shenong School and the Shen family of Yanjing. The Shenong pie is in my hands, and I am your woman. Isn't it at your disposal to take those thousands of divine herbs and mysterious ancient books and scrolls as convenient as you want?" While speaking, she twisted her snake-like waist and leaned toward Jiang Tian. Her plump breasts pressed against Jiang Tian's arm, which was full of elasticity. She put her bright red lips on Jiang Tian's face and wanted to kiss his handsome face. Damn it! Jiang Tian's luck is too great. Seeing this, Chen Bo quickly lowered his head and didn't dare to look again. However, he was roaring crazily in his heart. As the first disciple of Shen Nung and a member of the Shen family, Shen Meng was like a high and mighty princess in the sect and the secular world. No matter how many young men and young masters there were, she didn't care about them at all. However, at this moment, she was so enthusiastic and provocative toward Jiang Tian. She clearly meant that if Jiang Tian nodded, she would take off her clothes and offer her body to him. "My dear mother, compared to Jiang Tian, I'm even less than a scum." Chen Bo felt so inferior that he didn't even have the courage to be jealous. "Jiang Tian, you should say yes." Even Jiang Lin was moved and thought this was a good suggestion. If Jiang Tian married Shen Meng and joined Shenong School, then Shenong School wouldn't force Jiang Tian to hand over the prescription or get rid of him after he had outlived his usefulness. The Jiang family was in decline now. If they had the support of Shenong School, a big sect with endless prescriptions and herbs, they would soar into the sky and do whatever they wanted in the secular world. The three big families in Jinling were like chickens and dogs. They were as far as they could go. "You're pretty good looking. You've mastered your inner strength in martial arts, and your alchemy skills aren't bad either." Jiang Tian's words made Shen Meng's heart happy. The next moment, Shen Meng, Shen Meng and Shen Meng, Shen Shen, Shen, Shen and Shen. Beauty is like a skeleton and flesh is like a bag of skin. You're nothing in my eyes. Jiang Tian was calm in the face of the three people's shocked gazes. He said disdainfully, "How can you be my wife? How can you be compared to my lovely wife who always stir-fries and puts too much salt? However, I do lack a maidservant by my side. You can be my maidservant. That's not bad." Maid. Jiang Lin was dumbfounded and couldn't say anything for a while. Even Chen Bo was so shocked that he almost sat on the ground. He couldn't believe it. Shen Meng was a descendant of the Shen family in Yanjing, the successor and the first disciple of Shenong School. She would be in charge of the sect in the future. She was a dragon among men and had countless suitors. Many handsome men wanted to marry her but couldn't. However, Jiang Tian dared to say that he wanted her to be his maid. Even those great grandmasters didn't dare to think about it. "Jiang Tian, you've gone too far." Jiang Tian's words made Shen Meng tremble with anger. She was a girl favored by the heavens. She had enough capital to be proud. With her appearance and strength, she was the moon surrounded by stars no matter where she went. The number of handsome young men who wanted to marry her could line up from Yanjing to Hubei province. Today, she took the initiative to express her love, seduced him with her appearance and promised great benefits. However, she was slapped away by Jiang Tian and was told that she could only be his maid. Even if Jiang Tian was a young grandmaster, it was still a great humiliation to her. Originally, Shen Meng was in awe of Jiang Tian. But now, in her heart, Jiang Tian was as detestable as he could be, as hateful as he could be. She couldn't wait for Jiang Tian to die immediately. "Well, I guess I thought too highly of myself." Shen Meng struggled to get up. She suppressed the tears in her eyes and forced a smile. In 3 days we will go to Shenong School. I hope Master Kong can get what he wants and return with a full load. Little girl, I wanted to give you an opportunity. You don't want such a good opportunity? You don't want to be my maid? Jiang Tian asked matter-of-factly. If you can get Shenong School, I can even be your maid for 3 lifetimes. I'm afraid you don't have the ability. Shen Mange was so angry at Jiang Tian that her face turned pink and her chest heaved up and down. She had seen arrogant people before, but it was her first time seeing someone as arrogant as Jiang Tian. She smiled disdainfully, turned around, and left. She was still angry. Jiang Tian, oh Jiang Tian, so what if you are a young guru? How would you know the background of Shenong School? There are several guru masters in Shenong School, and there is a mountain guarding formation. If you dare to go there, you will be walking into a trap. Today, I gave you a chance because of your talent and ability, so I didn't want you to die in the hands of enemies, but you didn't cherish it. In the future, when you are in deep trouble, you will kneel before me and wag your tail to beg for mercy. You will lick my toes. Go to hell. In the remaining 3 days, Shen Mange thought Jiang Tian was going to practice in seclusion to prepare for the upcoming trip to Shenong School. Unexpectedly, Jiang Tian didn't care at all. He took a group of people shopping all day. Tisk, this kite is so beautiful. Chinger will like it. Let's buy a few. Mopen persimmon so big? Chinga might like it. Let's buy a box. Mopen chestnuts? It will be good to make chicken soup for Chinga. Bye. In 3 days, Jiang Tian had practically strolled through all of Galuo Mountain City's specialty markets and bought a bunch of things. Shen Mange and Chen Bo had become his little brother and little sister carrying his bags. Shen Mange was so depressed that she wanted to vomit blood. She thought to herself, what kind of heavenly beauty is this wife of Jiang Tian's? She actually has him doting on her so much. After returning to the Medicine Metropolis Hotel, they packed up these specialty products and sent them back to Linzhou. Jiang Tian patted his butt and said, let's go to Shenong School to rob. Oh no, to seek justice. Jiang Tian, I will go with you. Jiang Lin had a whole new level of respect for Jiang Tian these few days. In the future, Jiang Tian would definitely be in control of the Jiang family. How could she not hug his thigh? Forget it, quickly go back. Jiang Tian waved his hand. The trip to Shenong School was too dangerous. This idiot cousin sister would be a complete burden if she followed him. But Jiang Lin had a difficult expression. She wanted to say something but stopped. You want the prescription? Jiang Tian smacked his head and immediately understood. Jiang Lin came to participate in the alchemy exchange this time because she wanted to beg Shenong School to sell a few prescriptions to the Jiang family. But now, the alchemy exchange had turned into a killing spree. She didn't get anything and couldn't go back to report. That's right. Jiang Lin nodded repeatedly and looked at Jiang Tian with anticipation. Jiang Tian was now an alchemy grandmaster. Even the eldest martial sister of Shenong School wanted to rope him in. His prescriptions were probably more effective than those of Shenong School. What's so difficult about this? Jiang Tian thought for a while and immediately wrote out 7 or 8 prescriptions and handed them to Jiang Lin. These prescriptions were all made of ordinary herbs, but after being refined by Jiang Tian's skillful hands, they had the effect of turning the rotten into the miraculous. Once released, they would definitely sweep through Huaxia. Jiang Tian, thank you. I will definitely report to Grandpa and let him. Jiang Lin took the prescriptions as if they were priceless treasures and thanked him repeatedly. No, don't tell Grandpa. Don't tell anyone. Jiang Tian waved his hand and said seriously, don't say a word about what you saw. Just say that you bought these prescriptions from Shenong School at a high price. Do you understand? But Jiang Lin didn't understand. In the family, all the disciples were competing with each other to win the approval and appreciation of the old master to increase the bargaining chip for the position of the family head. I told you not to say, so don't say. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Jiang Tian's face turned serious and said in a deep voice, if you dare to say a word, I will not forgive you. Great aunts, second aunts, and third aunts were all super gossipy and gossipy. Once the news of his cultivation and ability spread out, the three major families of Jin City would probably act in desperation and take him by surprise. Okay, I won't say a word. Jiang Lin was so scared that her body trembled, and she quickly promised. After Jiang Lin left, Jiang Tian and the others checked out of the room and drove to the depths of Shenangjia. On the way, Shen Mange asked curiously, Jiang Tian, you killed Hong Tianzhao. Why don't you go to the Hong family in Hengkou to kill them? They still want to take revenge on me? That's great, I will make sure they don't come back. Jiang Tian sat in the back seat and said lazily. Arrogant and despotic. Too despotic. Shen Mange was so angry at Jiang Tian that she trembled. However, after thinking about it carefully, she realized that Jiang Tian's words made sense. In the Hong family, Hong Tianzhao was the most powerful and was a transcendent master. If even he was killed by Jiang Tian, the others would only be courting death. She forced a smile and said, although you are right, the Hong family is the richest family in the 3 towns of Wuhan. They control all the river ports, hotels, real estate, and commercial complexes. On the surface, their assets are worth tens of billions, not to mention the hidden ones. Why don't you take it by force? Tisk, it's just a small amount of silver. I don't care about it. What I want is the treasures of the Shenong school. Jiang Tian smiled disdainfully. For him, hundreds of millions of dollars were within his reach. If he wanted it, he could take it away anytime. The key was the Millennium Green spiritual wood of the Shenong school. If he could set up a spirit gathering array, he could at least reach the mid-stage of qi refining stage. By then, he would be invincible in Huaxia and would not even be afraid of the old transcendent masters. Arrogant and boastful. Shen Mange's eyes were full of mockery. She mumbled, you don't know the power of our sect or the power of sect leaders Wa. When the time comes, you won't be able to go back. Aren't they just a few transcendent masters or perfected cultivators who have reached the ethereal enlightenment? Her voice was soft, but Jiang Tian heard it clearly. He said disdainfully, your master's Wazimu is just a material for my furnace. I can kill him with one slap. Chapter 105. You. Shen Mange was so angry that her eyes were spitting fire. Her whole body was trembling, and she couldn't say a word. Originally, she thought highly of herself, but when she met Jiang Tian, this jinx, she was repeatedly thwarted. Now, Jiang Tian didn't even care about her master, but she couldn't do anything about it. Now, she had become Jiang Tian's hostage. She was too lazy to talk anymore. She crossed her arms and looked out of the window. She gritted her teeth and cursed Jiang Tian in her heart. The mountain road was steep, surrounded by clouds and fog, and danger was everywhere. In the evening, the car had entered a small town in the hinterland of Shenangjia mountain range. Jiang Tian saw a few hotels and restaurants, so he asked them to stop and eat. Jiang Tian's group was quite eye-catching. A Land Rover Range Rover, a Mercedes-Benz off-road vehicle, and a few handsome men and beautiful women, including Qiu Gong, Tang Linglong, Shen Mange, Chen Bo, and a few other handsome men and women, surrounded him. He looked like a noble son on an inspection tour. Master, this restaurant is more popular. Many people come to eat. It must be delicious. Tang Linglong raised her hand and pointed at a restaurant called Star Picking Restaurant, with a smile. Yes, this is it. Jiang Tian also had an indifferent attitude, so he nodded. The group walked into the restaurant and sat down casually. The waiter immediately came up and bowed. Boss, what would you like to order? Tang Linglong picked up the menu and ordered some dishes. The waiter reported it to the kitchen and went to pour tea. Jiang Tian said coldly, Shen Mange, you are my maid. Don't you have any self-awareness? Go and pour tea. Otherwise, I will spank you tonight. You dash. Shen Mange was provoked by Jiang Tian, and her face turned red. She had no choice but to get up and pour tea. This kind of woman is the legendary city man's mistress. Yes, her breasts are so big, just like our cow, hey. Several farmers around them looked at Shen Mange and pointed at her, discussing animatedly. Shen Mange blushed with embarrassment. She took out a pair of sunglasses from her handbag and put them on, covering half of her delicate cheeks. Only then did the diner's discussion become a little quieter. Huh, do you think you're a superstar? She even has the burden of being an idol and wears sunglasses. She's so ugly. Jiang Tian teased her casually as he sipped his tea. Shen Mange was so shocked that tears streamed down her cheeks and she clenched her teeth so hard that they almost broke. Just then, 4 off-road vehicles with Zhonghai license plates stopped at the entrance. A dozen burly men in black combat uniforms got out of the first vehicle and walked to the door of the second vehicle. They stood in 2 rows and formed a human wall before an old man opened the door for them. A snow-white, slender, and beautiful leg stretched out. Wearing a pair of Gucci limited edition suede high heels, the beautiful foot stepped on the floor. Everyone in the shop was instantly dazzled. Her beautiful ankles, which were adorned with a platinum diamond anklet, were even more eye-catching, causing the farmers to gulp down their saliva. Following closely behind, a tall and beautiful woman wearing a miniskirt and holding a parasol got out of the car. The girl was about 20 years old. Her skin was as smooth as cream, her eyebrows were like the distant mountains, and her small cherry lips were like red dots. Her pair of clear and beautiful eyes were captivating. It was already midsummer, and the weather was hot. She was wearing a cool little camisole, and under her slender swan-like neck, 2 pieces of white skin were perfectly exposed, causing people to be lost in wild and fanciful thoughts and captivating souls. Damn, such a beautiful woman. Just looking at her makes me hungry. Don't talk so much. Why don't you look at the other party's formation? Can you afford to provoke them? I'll take you to the police station later. She's so majestic and domineering. She's even more majestic than those people just now. 4 cars and so many bodyguards. Under the scorching gazes of many men, the girl frowned in disgust and walked into the restaurant. A well-dressed, dignified young man hurried to catch up with her. He arrived at a table 1 step ahead of her, pulled out a napkin, and wiped the table and chairs. Smiling obsequiously, he said, "Take a seat." As soon as this group of people entered, they were attracted by Jiang Tian and the rest. This was because Jiang Tian and the rest did not look like local mountain people, especially Qiu Gong's white training clothes and old cloth shoes. It was obvious that he was a martial artist. This young man is so handsome. The girl who was called Yen seemed to be deeply attracted to Jiang Tian. Her beautiful eyes were slightly opened, and there was a glint in her eyes. Jiang Tian was now at the peak of level 2 qi refining stage. It was no exaggeration to say that he already had some fresh and pleasant immortal qi. In addition, all the impurities in his body had been expelled. His skin was like jade, and his eyes were clear. He was as handsome as Louis Koo before he got tanned. Yen, stop looking. We still have to hurry after eating. Hurry up and order. The young man looked at Jiang Tian with a hint of jealousy and said lightly, "It's none of your business what I'm looking at." Han Yen frowned and threw the menu to Mai Shilong. She continued to look at Jiang Tian. After a while, the dishes were served. The 2 groups of people ate and continued on their way. Jiang Tian realized that the motorcade with Zhonghai license plates had been following them. At midnight, they arrived at a small mountain town and stayed at the only hotel in the town. After checking in, Jiang Tian used the Wi-Fi to video call Zhao Xueqing and reported his schedule for the past 2 days. He was about to go upstairs to rest when Han Yen couldn't hold back her curiosity anymore. She came over with a wine bottle and a wine glass. "Hey handsome, it looks like you are also going to Shenong town, right? Let me buy you a drink." She didn't buy the wine from the pub, but a red wine from the car. It should be Mouton. 1 glass was worth more than 10,000 yuan. Thus, Shenong town. You are going there too? Jiang Tian took the wine glass and smiled. What a coincidence. Han Yen was excited. She looked at Shen Mange who was using the Wi-Fi and smiled. "Are you his wife? You are so beautiful." "I'm not his wife. We have nothing to do with each other." Shen Mange waved her hand, disgusted. Han Yen smiled sweetly and said, "Then I am sorry, I will punish myself with a glass." She took a sip. Han Yen was a talkative person. She introduced herself as she drank. She was from the Han family of Zhonghai. Her family was in the import and export business. Her father had a strange disease and she wanted to go to Shenong town to ask for some medicine to cure her father. The young man who had accompanied her was called Mai Shilong. He was one of her admirers. He followed her like a fly and this time he insisted on following her. Hearing this, Jiang Tian smiled and said, "You are going to Shenong town. Are you going to Shenong school? You know about Shenong school too?" Han Yen was shocked. Shenong school was very mysterious and low-key. Ordinary people had no idea about it. They had spent 2 million yuan to buy this information from a medical expert. She had thought that only the children of such big families knew about the existence of Shenong school. She didn't expect that Jiang Tian, who was dressed like an ordinary worker, also knew about it. Seeing Jiang Tian nodded, Han Yen suddenly cheered and said happily, "So you are also going to Shenong school to ask for medicine? I was worried that no one would go with me. I was worried that I would get lost in the complicated terrain of Shenangjia. Now we can be each other's companions." "He got lost? I was taken hostage by him. How could I get lost?" Jiang Tian smiled but didn't say anything. Shen Mange next to him was gritting her teeth and snorting in her heart. "It's time to rest." At this moment, Mai Shilong walked over with his hands in his pockets. He looked at Jiang Tian provocatively and said, "Don't talk nonsense with these people. What if they have bad intentions? This bar is quite cold. Can you talk in my room later? I'm scared to sleep alone." Unexpectedly, Han Yen didn't leave. Instead, she hugged Jiang Tian's arm and rubbed her full chest against his, and begged in a soft voice. How can this guy be so charming? How can such a beautiful girl throw herself into his arms? Shen Mange couldn't believe it. Jiang Tian looked at Mai Shilong, who was standing behind Han Yen, with a gloomy face, and knew that he was being used as a shield. You're scared? Do you want me to spend the night with you?" Looking at the girl who was hugging his arm coquettishly and smiling like a flower, Jiang Tian snorted coldly in his heart, and a sense of disgust arose spontaneously. "It's not impossible." Hearing Jiang Tian's words, Han Yen was slightly stunned. Then, she smiled sweetly and pretended to be charming. Hee. Jiang Tian chuckled and shook his head. This kind of girl only thought that she could do whatever she wanted because she was pretty. She didn't care about others. To her, using him as a shield was an extremely simple matter. After she was done, she would just leave, but that pile of stinky trouble was left to him. It was as if it was his honor to be used as a shield. This kind of girl thought too highly of herself. Jiang Tian's disgust was not without reason. One look at Mai Shilong and he knew that he was the kind of person who would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. Moreover, Jiang Tian had already used his divine sense to see that his bodyguards were armed. With Jiang Tian's cultivation, Mai Shilong would not be able to do anything to him. However, if Jiang Tian was just an ordinary person, Mai Shilong, who would be burning with jealousy, would pick a fight and cripple him. He might even be shot and thrown into the wilderness. It could be said that Han Yen did not care about Jiang Tian's life at all. It was not an exaggeration to say that she was as beautiful as a fairy but as venomous as a scorpion. "Sorry, I'm not interested." Jiang Tian raised his arm and flung Han Yen aside. Seeing this, Mai Shilong quickly stepped forward and helped Han Yen, who was blushing with embarrassment, up. He pointed at Jiang Tian and said angrily, "Bastard, how can you be so rough? Do you believe that I won't kill you?" Slap. Jiang Tian raised his hand and slapped him in the face. He said in a low voice, "Get out. I have nothing to do with you. Don't mess with me and make trouble for yourself." He had been in outer space for tens of thousands of years, and he immediately understood what this kid was thinking. It was nothing more than showing his care for Han Yen and trampling on him. However, if he really wanted to mess with him, Jiang Tian would not mind killing him. If he killed him in the deserted Shenangjia, who would be able to find out? Besides, Mai Shilong had no cultivation and was from a secular family. What did Jiang Tian have to fear? "How dare you?" Jiang Tian thought that this kid was going to make a move immediately. However, Mai Shilong only stared at Jiang Tian viciously and did not make a move. Instead, he helped Han Yen and left. Jiangtun, be careful. They seem to have brought guns deep into the mountains. Shen Mange reminded him gloatingly. Do you think I don't know? Can guns hurt a transcendent master? Ridiculous. Jiang Tian said with disdain. I'm afraid that if they don't make a move, I'll kill them. You came from the secular world, so how did you develop such a ruthless attitude of a hero who views human lives as worthless? You have no respect for the law. Shen Mange couldn't believe it. Her heart went crazy. She shouted hysterically, You're not a human. You're a demon fetus. You're an evildoer. Chapter 106. Shen Mange was so angry that she was trembling. She did not want to look at Jiang Tian again and went upstairs to sleep. For these rich young ladies, human lives are just like grass to them. The law is nothing. Jiang Tian picked up the red wine left by Han Yen and poured himself a glass. He took a sip and smacked his lips with a deep look in his eyes. In my last life, I was naive and did not realize the cruel truth of this world. Now that I've been reborn in this life, I've discovered that under the surface order of this world, there are bloody and cruel battles and conflicts everywhere. He drained the remaining wine in his cup and sighed in satisfaction. But this is more fun, isn't it? The next morning, Jiang Tian checked out and was about to leave. Unfortunately, he met Han Yen and Mai Shilong downstairs. When she saw Jiang Tian, Han Yen's face turned cold and her eyes flashed with jealousy. Last night, although she had used Jiang Tian as a shield and was only putting on an act, she had been rejected by Jiang Tian in front of Mai Shilong and lost a lot of face. This made her, who thought of herself as a princess, very unhappy with Jiang Tian. You are just a worthless guy. What are you so proud of? When we get to Shenong School, I will persuade the masters to kick you out. She glanced at Jiang Tian with disdain and made up her mind. Young Master Mai, Miss Han, I'm not late, am I? At this moment, young Master Jiang, who they had met at the Medicine Du Hotel, rushed to Han Yen and Mai Shilong in an off-road vehicle and bowed. You're not late. Thank you, young Master Jiang. Mai Shilong patted him on the shoulder and smiled. As long as you bring me to Shenong School, the investment we agreed on in advance will be implemented immediately. Child Jiang seemed to be a good-for-nothing, but in fact he was quite smart. Over the years, he had helped his father get a lot of investment by leading the way to the Shenong clan. Of course, he also had a little share. Just this time, he had led the way for Mai Shilong and Han Yen, and his shares in the company were worth millions. Young Master Mai, you are so generous. Young Master Jiang was overjoyed when he heard this. He looked around and suddenly saw Shen Mange, Chen Bo and Jiang Tian together. He was shocked and said, Senior Sister Apprentice, young Master Chen, why are you with him? Everyone was silent and no one paid him any attention. Shen Mange was in low spirits and was too lazy to talk. Chen Bo was already scared out of his wits by Jiang Tian and didn't dare to talk. Duke Qiu and Tang Linglong had followed Jiang Tian's instructions and kept a low profile. Naturally, they wouldn't speak carelessly. In the end, Jiang Tian smiled faintly. We're friends now. They want to bring me to Shenong School to ask for medicine. Oh, I see. I was just about to bring them to Shenong School to ask for medicine. Now we can go together. Young Master Jiang was very calm and did not notice anything strange. He gave Jiang Tian some smoke and soon he and Jiang Tian became brothers. Seeing that Jiang Tian and young Master Jiang knew each other, Mai Shilong's face became gloomy. He wanted to find a chance to kill Jiang Tian in the forest, but it might be difficult now. The two teams formed a convoy and set off again. They soon arrived at Shenong town. After a few kilometers, the road was cut off and they had to get out of the car and walk. Walking through the dense forest, Han Yen was so tired that she was covered in sweat. She said gloomily, Why is this place so poor? There isn't even a road. It's so hard to walk. Miss Han, you have underestimated Shenong School. Shenong School is very rich. The government has always wanted to build roads for them, but the immortals in Shenong School are reclusive and did not agree. They are afraid that too many people will come to ask for medicine and disturb their cultivation. Young Master Jiang explained, panting. They are very rich? Han Yenhe was surprised. You saw it too. Although Shenong town is deep in the mountains, every family has a car and a villa. Young Master Jiang smiled. What do they rely on? They rely on selling food, vegetables, handicrafts and so on to Shenong school. Their family's annual income is at least 500,000. That's not a low income. It's even higher than some white-collar workers. Mai Shilong nodded. That's not a big deal? Young Master Jiang smiled. If you are chosen by Shenong school and accepted as a disciple, your income will be even higher. Even an outer court odd-job disciple would have an annual income of 1 million. That's why the surrounding villages are all very rich. In the group, Jiang Tian's face was calm. How could an alchemy sect like this lack money? Even the tiniest bit that slipped through his fingers would be enough to fill the stomachs of an entire mountain family. Young Master Jiang, what do you think we should give them to impress the immortals? Han Yen put a hand on young Master Jiang's shoulder and jumped over a boulder and asked. Young Master Jiang's father was just a deputy mayor of a county-level city. He was still able to flaunt his power in Garuda Mountain, but compared to Han Yen and Mai Shilong, he was nothing. Miss Han, you asked the right question. Now that Han Yen had addressed him so respectfully, he felt smug. He shook his head and said, they are all immortals. Money is not going to impress them. I don't believe it. Mai Shilong said disdainfully. If 5 million is not enough, then 50 million, 100 million. I don't believe they won't be tempted. Young Master Mai, you have underestimated them. Young Master Jiang rolled his eyes and smirked. Have you heard of the Guo family of Nanyang? Guo family of Nanyang? What's wrong? Mai Shilong and Han Yen asked curiously. The Guo family of Nanyang was a regular on the list of China's wealthiest people. They were a family with hundreds of billions of assets. They were not something that the Han family and the Mai family could compare with. A few months ago, Guo Lily, the daughter of the Guo family of Nanyang, asked me to bring them to Shenong school. She was going to pay $1 billion for the alchemy pills to cure her grandfather's illness. However, she was kicked out by the immortals. Young Master Jiang said proudly. What? Not even $1 billion. Not even the Guo family of Nanyang. Han Yen and Mai Shilong exclaimed in shock. Jiang Tian was taken aback. Guo Lily must have gone to Shenong school before she went to the White Ape Valley to look for the crystal of life. He glanced at Shen Mange, who was standing next to him. She lifted her chin proudly as if to say, Humph! You little brat, do you know how powerful the Shenong school is? You can't afford to offend us. Jiang Tian found it funny. He thought, what can the Guo family prove by asking for the alchemy pills? It just proves that the Shenong school has a lot of treasures and I can take them away from you. Han Yen was a little worried and thought for a moment. She smiled and asked in a sweet voice, Brother Jiang, what can we give to satisfy the old immortals in the mountains? Hearing Meng Qi call him Brother Jiang made young Master Jiang's whole body feel lighter. He was so happy that he almost floated in the air. He immediately told Meng Qi everything he knew. Those old immortals like to collect all kinds of rare and precious herbs. Secondly, they like antiques, jade, famous paintings, and so on. Oh, that's good. Han Yen was a little relieved. Luckily, they had collected a lot of jades and antiques before they came. Otherwise, this trip would have been in vain. At this moment, she rolled her eyes at Jiang Tian and gloated. Jiang Tian and the others didn't carry any luggage, so they probably didn't bring any treasures. They would probably be kicked out by the alchemists of Shenong school. The forest was filled with white fog and poisonous insects. The road was rugged and filled with vines and shrubs. It was very difficult to find. Even though young Master Jiang had been to Shenong school several times, he still almost lost his way. This road is not suitable for martial artists, but for normal people, I'm afraid something bad will happen. No wonder the Shenong school is able to hide from the world and enjoy such a high status in the modern world. Jiang Tian sighed softly when he saw this. Suddenly, a wild boar ran out of the forest and dashed toward the group. The wild boar was about half the height of a man and 1.5 meters long. It was like a calf, with a mane that looked like steel needles all over its body. Saliva dripped from its white fangs. Bang, bang, bang. The bodyguards were shocked. They quickly drew their guns and fired at the wild boar. The wild boar had obviously been shot and was sent tumbling. But in the blink of an eye, it rolled over again. It seemed to be enraged. Like a bulldozer, it charged toward the group even more fiercely than before. Damn, it can't be killed. The bodyguards were shocked and panicked. It turned out that the wild boar often rubbed against pine trees and was covered in pine resin. Over time, it was like a thick layer of armor that couldn't be broken by knives or bullets. It's okay, let it come. Behind Han Yin, an old man called Uncle Lu calmly stepped forward and stood in front of the group. The wild boar came so fast that it stirred up a black whirlwind. When it was 5 meters away from the group, it suddenly jumped from the rock and charged toward Uncle Lu like a cannonball. Uncle Lu raised his right hand and lightly patted the wild boar's head. There was a muffled thud. Blood and brain matter splattered everywhere. The wild boar, which weighed a few hundred pounds, flew 7 or 8 meters before it stopped moving. It was dead. Impressive. Sir, you are almost as good as the gods on the mountain. Young Master Jiang wiped the sweat off his face and gave Uncle Lu a thumbs up. Uncle Lu didn't take it to heart. He smiled faintly and said, "Let's go." Han Yin glanced at him arrogantly and said, "See, even my bodyguards are better than you." Everyone kept trekking. In the afternoon of the second day, a steep and straight mountain suddenly appeared in front of them. It was like a straight sword piercing through the sky. There was a huge valley at the foot of the mountain. It was surrounded by high walls made of green stones. It formed a huge fortress with a radius of 7 or 8 kilometers. They had finally arrived at Shenong School. It's so beautiful. It's like a paradise. Han Yin was envious. Chapter 107. Suddenly, young Lord Jiang said apologetically, "Miss Han, young Lord Mai, this is as far as I can take you. I am not qualified to enter the valley." "Then go ahead. I am grateful that you have brought me here." Han Yin smiled. "All right, do you see the entrance of the valley? The miasma is thick and it is very dangerous. Be careful," young Lord Jiang said and then left with his 2 bodyguards. Han Yin didn't hesitate and ordered the bodyguards, "You go into the valley first and tell them that someone from the Han family of Zhonghai is here to visit. Don't be rash." Shen Mange said proudly, "The mountain defense array and the mountain gate belong to the sect. It is disrespectful to break in. Be careful not to be killed. It is just a cloud of smoke. What is there to be afraid of? You are as timid as a mouse." Han Yin was very unhappy with Jiang Tian, and even Shen Mange was not pleasing to the eye, so she said with disdain. At her command, the figures of the 2 bodyguards flashed and rushed into the heavy smoke, flying toward the mountain gate. These bodyguards were fully armed, with bulletproof vests, helmets, explosion-proof shields, and long and short guns. They even wore gas masks. Not to mention a cloud of smoke, they could even come and go freely in a rain of bullets. Less than 5 minutes after the 2 bodyguards rushed in, the smoke suddenly surged uneasily. Wind and thunder rumbled, as if there was a 100-meter-long dragon stirring wantonly. With a bang, a bodyguard flew out from the deep miasma. His speed was so fast that he crashed into a big tree and broke it. Everyone was shocked. There was a thumb-sized hole in the bodyguard's helmet. Blood and brain matter flowed down his face. His chest was fractured and he was already dead. "Xiao Wu, come back." Tang Kaishen was so scared that he was sweating profusely. His face was pale and he quickly called for the other bodyguard. But it was too late. The other bodyguard was also sent flying by an irresistible force. He landed heavily on the ground and died. His face and hands had been corroded, revealing white bone stubble. He was already a skeleton. This spirit design is so powerful. Everyone turned pale with fright. At this moment, even Uncle Lu was shocked. His face was full of shock. "What should we do? Who can go in?" Han Yen's face turned pale and her legs trembled. At this moment, everyone was at their wits' end. No matter how skilled they were, There was no way they could resist such a terrifying and bizarre formation. Mr. Jiang, can you go in? Shen Mange looked at Jiang Tian with disdain. Follow me in. Jiang Tian smiled indifferently. With his hands behind his back, he leisurely walked into the array as if he was taking a stroll in a park. Shen Mange snorted disdainfully. Ignorant and arrogant, you really dare to go in. If you want to court death, then go ahead. Humph. Even if you are the Master Kong of Jiangbei and have reached the initial transcendent state, there is no way you can withstand this sinister and unpredictable mountain protection array. Chen Bo's eyes flashed with a hint of mockery. Jiang Tian walked into the formation, and with a pa sound, he seemed to casually lift his leg and kick a huge mountain rock. Suddenly, the boulder caved in. It turned out to be a hidden mechanism. The fog suddenly shrunk, forming a long tunnel for my Shilong, Han Yen, and the others to pass through. Why is the fog gone? My Shilong and Han Yen were puzzled. They had no idea what was going on. This asshole knows how to use array formations. This is not fair. Shen Mange's face was filled with shock. She was also shocked by Jiang Tian's prowess. Jiang Tian walked all the way, his feet not stopping, turning here and there, casually poking here and kicking there. But strangely, the fog opened up a path, and all kinds of hidden arrows, poison spears, boulders, traps were suppressed. They were accumulating power but were not released. Soon, they had crossed a kilometer and followed Jiang Tian to a stone wall. Although this stone wall looked like it was one with the other stone walls, it was different. Jiang Tian immediately recognized that this was the gate of the Shenong school. Other places were covered with weeds, moss, and vines, but this place was clean and clean. Apparently, it was frequented by people. Just as Jiang Tian was about to send a message to the valley, a few figures suddenly appeared at the top of the stone wall. Who dares to touch my mountain protection array? Do you want to die? As the crowd exclaimed, they jumped down from the giant stone wall that was over 10 meters high and swept over like a gust of strong wind. Uncle Lu hurriedly stepped forward, bowed and cupped his fists, and said humbly, Immortal Master, I'm Hu Delu, a boxing master of Xingyi boxing. These two are the children of the Mai family and the Han family in Zhonghai. They come to Shenong sect to ask for medicine. Oh, it's Hu Delu. The leader smiled. Don't call me Immortal Master. I am just a gatekeeper. My surname is Yu. Just call me Old Yu. Master Yu, please let us enter the valley. Uncle Lu did not dare to be negligent. He bowed and cupped his fists. He had already sensed that this Master Yu was at the initial success stage of inner force. He was even stronger than him at the peak of Iron Body. He would be a powerful figure in the outside world. And such a powerful person could only be a gatekeeper in the Shenong school. He could not help but be in awe of the Shenong school. The elders and alchemists in the sect have important matters to discuss. I am afraid they will not be able to help you get the medicine in such a short time. Gatekeeper Yu said awkwardly. Jiang Tian laughed in his heart. The news of him killing Bu Xuanzi and causing a ruckus at the elixir exchange must have spread to the sect. The elders must be prepared. Uncle Yu, please let us in first. We can wait as long as it takes. Han Yen walked forward slowly and gave Gatekeeper Yu a jade pendant. This jade pendant was actually an antique called the Lu Zigong pendant. It was worth 700,000 to 800,000 yuan. Gatekeeper Yu accepted it and did not even look at it. It was as if it was not worth mentioning. But his attitude was much better. He said, All right, you can go in. His eyes swept over Chen Bo and Shen Mange's faces, but he didn't say anything. Chen Bo was a handyman disciple, so he didn't know him at all, but Shen Mange was wearing big sunglasses, so he just felt a little familiar. The stone door opened and Gatekeeper Yu walked in with everyone. He said seriously, When you are in the sect, don't wander around and don't talk nonsense. Otherwise, you will be kicked out by the elders and alchemists. Don't worry, Gatekeeper Yu. We will. At this moment, even my Shilong put away his pride and said humbly. After entering the valley, one could see the lofty Shenong Peak on the opposite side. It was surrounded by mountains that were more than 1,000 meters above sea level. It was like a green barrier that surrounded the valley in the middle. It was an independent space that was isolated from the mortal world. The valley was about 10 miles in radius. The terrain was gentle and the soil was fertile. There were a few rivers and streams that intersected with each other. Patches of jade-green medicine fields were laid out on the ground like soft carpets. In the middle of the medicine fields, some disciples in black Taoist robes were weeding, fertilizing, and pruning. Some wild deer were running on the lawn. They were not afraid of people and were drinking water quietly by the river. A few red-crowned cranes were flying up and down by a lake. The cool breeze brought along a refreshing medicinal fragrance that refreshed one's mind, causing one's spirit to be refreshed. They couldn't help but close their eyes and take a deep breath in intoxication. Opposite the entrance of the valley, under the Shenong Peak, there was an endless stretch of palaces built against the mountain. The palaces were built with green bricks and gray tiles. The eaves were raised and smoke curled up. People's voices could be heard. It was like a big village. At the back of the palaces, there was a huge stone statue of Shenong carved on the mountain wall of the Shenong Peak. The stone statue of Shenong held herbs in one hand and a golden cauldron in the other. It had a kind face and amazing height. It made people look up to it and have the impulse to worship it. This is the grandeur of a big sect. Uncle Lu's face was full of fanatical worship and fascination. He could not stop sighing. Jiang, what treasure did you bring to the masters of the Shenong school? You didn't come empty-handed, did you? Han Yen said disdainfully. You didn't only bring your bank card, did you? It's useless. You'll be kicked out by the elders and alchemists later. Mai Shilong looked at Jiang Tian as if he was an idiot. I'm not here to ask for medicine. Jiang Tian's words left them scratching their heads in confusion, greatly astonished. Then why are you here? Are you trying to get something? Get out of here. You have no right to come to this place. Han Yen said disdainfully. If you're not here to ask for medicine, then what are you here for? Are you here to cause trouble? You can scram. Hearing those words, Guard Yu spoke angrily. The gate was closed. Shen Mange took off her sunglasses and looked at Jiang Tian with disdain. She sneered and said, Guardian Yu, go and tell the elders that Kong Teichu of Linzhou is here to visit. You're Kong Teichu? Guardian Yu looked at Jiang Tian again and asked in a trembling voice. His face turned pale and he could not believe it. That's right. Jiang Tian did not even look at him. He used the demonic dragon roar and shouted, Kong Teichu of Linzhou is here to visit Zhu Zimu, the leader of the Shenong school. His voice was like rolling thunder. It spread out in all directions and went straight to the sky. The trees shook violently, the pond rippled, and the rocks tumbled. It was as if there was an earthquake. Guardian Yu was the first to bear the brunt of the sound wave. The sound wave hit him squarely in the chest and sent him flying. He fell to the ground and passed out. Uncle Lu staggered back a few steps. His chest was filled with so much disgust that he wanted to die. Fortunately, he did not spit out a mouthful of blood. Mai Shilong and Han Yen were also shaken. They looked at Jiang Tian in horror and shouted, Are you crazy? What do you want? Shenong School, Meeting Hall. A group of senior elders and alchemists of the Shenong School were discussing how to deal with Jiang Tian. A few powerful masters also sat there and offered suggestions. Many of them were internal force users and transcendent state martial artists, ethereal enlightenment spell masters, alchemists, and miracle doctors. It said that Jiang Taichu can refine a lot of magical elixirs with rich reserves. It's okay if he doesn't come. If he dares to come, we will capture him and force him to tell us the elixir formula and the refining rules. At that time, our Shenong sect can make further progress. An old man in a black robe said smugly. The old man was the Grand Law Enforcement Elder of the Shenong School. His nickname was Perfected Silver Moon, and he was an ethereal enlightenment spell master. He was responsible for the advancement test of the Shenong School's disciples and the protection of the sect rules. If anyone violated the rules, he would punish them severely. I still feel a bit uneasy. Song Anian, the head of the executive group, said worriedly, Silver Moon, he killed Hong Tianzhao and Bu Xuanzi. He must be powerful. Anian, you think too much. How can Hong Tianzhao compare with the Shenong School? As the Grand Law Enforcement Elder, Perfected Silver Moon held the highest position in the sect when the sect master was in seclusion. He sneered like an old fox and said, "Even if Jiang Taichu is an experienced grandmaster, we are not afraid of him at all. What's more, he is so young. According to the information from Mange, he is only in his early 20s. I'm afraid he has only reached the initial transcendent state. I can kill him as easily as killing a chicken." Chapter 108. That's right. You worry too much, Ian. The one who spoke was another Grand Elder of Law Enforcement, Wei Bufan. He was a perfected cultivator at the ethereal enlightenment level. An initial transcendent grandmaster is nothing to me. His face looked like it was in its 70s. Only when he blinked his eyes did he show a hint of arrogance. He shook his head disdainfully and said, "We have a few transcendent grandmasters here. 2 fists are no match for 4 hands. He is digging his own grave by coming here. Come on, let's have a cup of monkey wine to celebrate Kong Teichu's death." Perfected Cultivator Silver Moon raised his glass and said with a smile, while the hall was bustling with noise and excitement. Suddenly, bang, 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 the glass window was crushed by an invisible wave of air and exploded with a loud bang. Pieces of broken glass fluttered like butterflies. The air wave swept across the hall like a hurricane, making it hard for people to open their eyes and breathe. Crack, crack. Cracks began to appear on the fine porcelain teacups, and they continued to spread. A thunderous voice came up. "Kong Teichu of Linzhou City is here to visit the sect master of Shinong School, Zuazimu." What? Kong Teichu is here? Everyone was shocked. Perfected Cultivator Silver Moon was enraged. How dare that bastard behave so atrociously in the Shinong School? I will kill him. Whoosh. Perfected Cultivator Silver Moon swayed his body and shot out of the hall. Then, he shook his arms and soared into the air like an eagle, diving toward the place where the voice came from. Zhang Enin, Wei Bufan and the other elders immediately followed him and rushed toward the place where the voice came from like a hurricane. At that moment, the entire Shinong School was boiling as if a pot of cold water had been poured into a pot of hot oil. Countless disciples came out of their rooms and looked forward to the scene. There were also dozens of experts, like grasshoppers, leaping up and down from the roof of the palace and shooting towards the scene of the incident. "Jiang Tian, the Shinong School treats you as a VIP and wants to exchange alchemy with you. Why did you kill my fellow disciple Bu Xuanzi and come to my sect? Are you tired of living?" Perfected Cultivator Silver Moon stood on the roof of a hall and looked down at Jiang Tian as he shouted coldly. Jiang Tian slapped Shen Mange to the ground and stepped on her butt. He stood with his hands clasped behind his back and leisurely sneered, "An exchange of alchemy Dao as an honored guest? In my opinion, this is a Hongmen banquet. Xiangzhuang sword dance is all about Lord Pei. You are after my elixirs and recipes. Master Kong, there must be some misunderstanding." Worried about Jiang Tian's cultivation, Song Anian was frightened and wanted to stall for time. He smiled bitterly and said, "Put down Shen Mange quickly. Let's sit down and talk about it." "Isn't it good to bury the hatchet? What else is there to talk about?" Jiang Tian said coldly, "The Shinong School wants to kill me and steal my treasures. The Shinong School should apologize to me." "Humph, you have already killed one of our elders and several of our disciples. You have caused great losses to the Shinong School, and now you want us to apologize." Perfected Cultivator Silver Moon shouted angrily. "Is the Shinong School so honorable in your eyes?" Jiang Tian raised his eyebrows and showed some anger. He shouted coldly, "Do you think I, Jiang Tian, should give myself up just because you want to kill me? Although I, Jiang Tian, am not a fish on the chopping board for you to slaughter." Perfected Cultivator Silver Moon was speechless. It was indeed Bu Xuanzi and Shen Mange who first set up an inescapable net to harm Jiang Tian, but they didn't expect Jiang Tian to counterattack. Song Anin asked in a low voice, "Jiang Tian, please let go of Shen Mange first. How do you want us to apologize? Just tell us." Since sect leaders Zimu received the news, he had been in seclusion for the past few days. He said that he was refining a magical treasure. Now, Wei Bufan was deliberately stalling for time to create an opportunity for Zhuozimo to come out of seclusion. Simple. Jiang Tian said indifferently, either you respect me, or you all leave the Shenong school and leave this valley, the spiritual herbs, and all kinds of magical treasures to me. Seeing that Jiang Tian was demanding an exorbitant price, Wei Bufan was so angry that he stomped his feet and said angrily, "Are you crazy for magical treasures and spiritual herbs? This valley was originally passed down by our ancestors, and you want to take it for yourself." Everyone was enraged as well. Jiang Tian was too greedy. A man who was never content was like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. He actually wanted to take over their habitat. What a big appetite! Mountains and rivers are impermanent masters, and the strong are the masters. You want to steal my elixir recipe, so I'm not allowed to steal yours. What kind of logic is that? Jiang Tian smiled indifferently and said matter-of-factly, "If you don't give it to me, then I can only wipe out the Shenong school. In the end, the Shenong school will still be mine." "How dare you? We originally wanted to negotiate with you to resolve this grudge, but we didn't expect you to be so arrogant." Perfected Cultivator Silver Moon snorted coldly and said, "You think you're so great just because you're a martial Dao master? At your level of cultivation, the Shenong school has at least 80, if not 100. Since you don't know when to stop, don't blame the Shenong school for being ruthless." As he said that, he waved his hand and gave the order to take Jiang Tian's life. Perfected Silver Moon, you can't. Senior sister is still in his hands. A disciple knelt on the ground anxiously. "Humph, don't shoot the rat for fear of breaking the vases. If we don't get rid of this bastard today, there will be endless trouble in the future." Perfected Silver Moon's face became incomparably cold and murderous. He suddenly formed a hand seal and pointed at the area where Jiang Tian was. Boom! There was a loud noise and the void changed. The area where Jiang Tian was suddenly filled with a terrifying pressure. It pressed in from all directions as if it could even squash steel. Mai Shilong and Han Yen suddenly felt their breathing become difficult. They felt as if their bones were about to be crushed. They knelt on the ground and screamed, "Please have mercy, Perfected Cultivator. We are the disciples of the Han and my families of Zhonghai. We are here to ask for medicine. We bear no ill will toward your sect. You have reached the ethereal enlightenment level. You can control the essence chi of heaven and earth." Jiang Tian was taken aback. He seemed to be amazed by Perfected Silver Moon's cultivation. Then he raised his hand and waved it in the air. The sticky air was torn open, and a clear space was created. It was clearly separated from the heavy air in the surroundings. Jiang Tian was safe and sound. Is he also a Dharma spell master? The elders and disciples of the Shenong school were all shocked. Perfected Silver Moon was using a Dharma spell to compress the air. In the past, he could even crush a small car into scrap metal. However, Jiang Tian was able to break the spell with ease. It was unbelievable. "Take another blow from me." Perfected Silver Moon also found it hard to believe. He made a few hand seals and pushed the air. In front of Jiang Tian, a 3-meter-long, rapidly spinning stream of white air suddenly appeared. It was like an air cone, fiercely drilling into Jiang Tian's chest. Heart-boring chi cyclone. The chi cyclone looked ordinary, but it was actually formed by the essence chi of heaven and earth. It could easily penetrate a 5-centimeter thick steel plate. Martial artists' bodies were not dense enough. Even if they could withstand bullets, they couldn't withstand the chi energy. Therefore, Dharma spells were much more effective against martial artists. Perfected Silver Moon had once used this spell to kill a transcendent grandmaster. It was a deadly move. Wherever the chi cyclone passed, the void dimension became blurry. Sand and pebbles flew everywhere. Even the moss on the ground was scraped off, leaving a series of ghastly marks on the green bricks. Useless. How dare you bring out such a pathetic spell technique to embarrass yourself? Jiang Tian snorted coldly in disdain. He did not move at all. When the chi vortex was about to enter his chest, he raised his hand and clenched it. Kaboom! Crack! Jiang Tian grasped the tip of the chi cyclone with his bare hand and shook his arm. The chi cyclone shattered into pieces and disappeared in a blink of an eye. His physical body is so strong. Perfected Silver Moon felt the recoil of his Dharma energy. His body trembled and he felt an intense pain in his chest. He took a step back and looked at Jiang Tian in shock. How is that possible? What is his cultivation level? Everyone at the Shenong school was taken aback by the development. Their faces were filled with fear. Perfected Silver Moon was a Dharma spell master who had reached ethereal enlightenment. His ability to drive fire and condense ice and control the chi of heaven and earth shocked the whole Shenong sect, and no one was convinced. His heart-piercing chi vortex was powerful enough to kill a transcendent state cultivator. Normally, martial artists wouldn't dare to face a Dharma spell master head-on because Dharma spells were too unpredictable and unpredictable. Only transcendent grandmasters or immortal state warriors could break the spell with their Dharma spells. However, Jiang Tian was able to break the Dharma spell master's Dharma spell with his bare hands. Everyone was shocked and bewildered. What was Jiang Tian's cultivation level? Transcendent state? Immortal state? How could he be so powerful at such a young age? My Shilong, Han Yen, and Uncle Lu knelt on the ground and looked up at Jiang Tian's tall back in shock. At this time, Jiang Tian was standing proudly on the crisscrossed path, facing many masters of the Shenong sect alone, just like a peerless god of war who could hold back 10,000 men. He was no longer the taciturn and calm young man. Han Yen was shocked. She had never seen such a powerful aura even among the top young lords of Zhonghai. That kind of domineering aura, that kind of peerless grace that suppressed the crowd of heroes, she seemed to see the appearance of her grandfather and those few ambitious and ruthless patriarchs fighting on the battlefield. Let's do it together. Reverend Silvermoon's face immediately sank, and he cursed inwardly. Today, they had really encountered a tough nut to crack. There was no room for negotiation in this kind of conflict of interest. The conflict was irreconcilable. Either you die or I die. Boom. Following Reverend Silvermoon's order, dozens of martial arts and spell masters launched a general attack from all directions in an instant. In an instant, fist energy exploded in this area, saber light flickered, sword chi crisscrossed, flames swallowed, ice covered, lightning flashed across the sky, and black poisonous gas that was like ink surged and filled the air. More than 30 Tao-reaching and metaphysic realm experts cast spells at the same time. Some took out magic weapons, some threw out talismans, and some set up arrays with finger gestures. In an instant, it was as if tens of thousands of cannons were firing at the same time, or tens of thousands of thunderbolts were striking down at the same time. It was earth-shattering, and the momentum was astonishing. Chapter 109. Even a small mountain would be razed to the ground by such a force, not to mention that Jiang Tian only had a mortal body. The martial artists were also unwilling to be outdone, each displaying their own unique skills. Those at the peak of the transcendent state had formed their chi into weapons and were able to attack from a distance. Their true chi formed into spears, swords, iron fists, steel whips and other weapons, which tore through the air and whistled toward Jiang Tian. The initial transcendent state cultivators were able to control objects with their chi. In a blink of an eye, all kinds of weapons such as long knives, short swords, shooting star darts, and sleeve arrows caused a series of terrifying sonic booms. They flew up and down, refracted in a curve, and some of them even circled around Jiang Tian's back and head, forming an inescapable net as they madly shot towards Jiang Tian. This kind of indiscriminate firepower could even kill an immortal state warrior, let alone an internal force cultivator or a transcendent state warrior. The terrifying attack covered a large area. Not only Jiang Tian, but also Shen Mange, my Shilong, Han Yen, and Uncle Lu, who were under Jiang Tian's feet. Han Yen and my Shilong were terrified by the onslaught of weapons and true chi. They knelt on the ground with pale faces and wondered if they could survive this battle. Senior sister. Elders, please have mercy on us. Senior Sister Mange is still in their hands. Many disciples exclaimed with tears running down their faces. Jiang Tian, even if you are at the peak of the transcendent state, you won't be able to withstand the combined attack of the Shenong school. You will die on the spot and your blood will splatter everywhere. Perfected Master Silver Moon sneered. His loose robe billowed in the wind, making him look like an immortal. He didn't forget to glance at Shenmenge and Hanyan, and said in his mind, "You will die a wrong death. But in order to kill Kang Teichu, your sacrifice will be worth it." This was the rule of Shenong school. The family's lintel could not be disgraced. Even if it was self-harm, it had to hurt the enemy. Since Jiang Tian dared to resist and provoke Shenong school, Reverend Silver Moon had to kill him. He even ignored Shenmenge. Good, decisive and straightforward, without losing the demeanor of a great sect. Jiang Tian praised with a calm expression. Then he stomped his foot and shouted, "But, can this hurt me? What is this?" Suddenly, Reverend Silver Moon's eyes widened as he looked at the shocking scene in disbelief. As Jiang Tian stomped his foot, a golden dome of light with a radius of 10 meters suddenly appeared, enveloping Jiang Tian and the group. On the golden light barrier, there were golden runes floating up and down. The runes seemed to be cast from gold. They seemed to have substance and were incomparably heavy. They spun continuously and emitted rays of resplendent golden light. Under the bright light, the pale faces of Mai Shilong and Han Yen were revealed. Their eyes were filled with despair and fear. Any Dharma spells or energy attacks would vanish as soon as they came into contact with the golden light barrier. The golden light barrier didn't even have the slightest ripple. No one knew how tough it was, which shocked everyone. Jiang Tian had completed the second level of Qi refinement and was comparable to an experienced transcendent grandmaster. He activated his divine power and formed an array. Jiang Tian's protective light barrier was a Dharma spell. It was not comparable to ordinary Dharma spells or martial arts. Even when dozens of spells, Jin Qi, and divine weapons bombarded it, it remained unscathed, as steady as a rock. He knows Dharma spells. Dharma spells and martial arts dual cultivation. How is that possible? His Dharma shield can withstand dozens of Dharma spells. Everyone from Shenong school screamed like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. They were so shocked that they almost jumped up. He practices both Dharma spells and martial arts. Perfected Cultivator Silver Moon's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. She exclaimed in disbelief. Both Dharma spells and martial arts were extremely mysterious in the world of Huaxia. Cultivating was like rowing a boat against the current. It required an enormous amount of effort and energy, and it could be said to be extremely difficult. If a person could master one of the two Dharma spells, he or she would be one of the top cultivators in the world. Therefore, Dharma spells and martial arts dual cultivation was only a legend. Jiang Tian raised his hand and flicked it. Bang! The golden light shield was like a balloon that had been blown up. It continued to expand until it finally exploded. All of a sudden, the power of the spell technique was repelled. True Qi shot out in all directions like a torrent, and all kinds of weapons were launched. Immediately, 3 spellcasters were hit by the backlash of their magic power and spat out mouthfuls of blood. 2 martial artists who were at the pinnacle of internal force were pierced through by swords and sabers. A large number of martial artists were thrown off their feet and fell from the main hall. "Defend!" Reverend Silver Moon shouted. In his horrified eyes, a silhouette grew larger and larger. It was Jiang Tian, who soared into the air and flew over. "Die, you arrogant bastard!" Seeing Jiang Tian charging over, Zhang Aonian roared and stomped on the ground. A large part of the palace's roof was shattered, and a huge hole appeared. Tiger God Fist. With the help of the surging force, Song Anin pounced on Jiang Tian. He threw 3 punches in the air. Boom, 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 boom. The 3 fists were the size of wash basins. Although they were condensed, they were extremely heavy. They left white marks in the air as they attacked like thunder. Even a steel plate would be broken if they landed. Jiang Tian's heart skipped a beat. He waved his fingers in the air and a blade aura of true essence swept in all directions. Boom, The true chi fists that couldn't even be penetrated by bullets didn't even last a second under the blade aura. They shattered like clay statues. Bang! Song Aonian's body was split in half from the middle by the blade aura. Blood gushed out from the wound as his body fell to the ground. Everyone was shocked. Everyone revealed a look of horror. Song Aonian, the head of the sect, was a phenomenal success transcendent state grandmaster. He used to be the family lord of an ancient martial artist family in northwest China. Decades ago, he was injured in a fight and almost died. It was Zimu who saved his life with his incredible medical skills and elixirs. Song Aonian was grateful to the sect master for saving his life. Otherwise, how could such a powerful figure lower his head and become an elder of a sect? However, Song Aonian was killed by Jiang Tian's blade aura. How could everyone not be shocked? This is terrifying. Just what kind of strength did this person have? Is he an immortal state warrior? Seeing that Jiang Tian had killed Song Aonian, many disciples of the Shenong school were so scared that their legs trembled. They didn't dare to step forward. Even Song Aonian, a phenomenal success transcendent state grandmaster, was killed by Jiang Tian, not to mention the other martial artists. This guy's attack is too powerful. We can't take it head-on. Perfected Master Silver Moon's heart skipped a beat. He shouted, "Martial artists only defend. Dharma cultivation masters, attack from afar." Before reaching the Tao body level, the body of a Dharma cultivation master was very weak. If the warriors continued to attack, they would only be sending themselves to their deaths. Moreover, they would expose their weaknesses and allow Jiang Tian to kill the masters of sorcery as easily as cutting vegetables. Therefore, the martial artists acted as human shields while the Dharma cultivation masters attacked from afar. Suddenly, all the martial artists moved to the front to protect the weaker Dharma cultivation masters. At the same time, the Dharma cultivation masters used their Dharma power. As perfected Master Silver Moon gave the order, the second wave of attacks came. 1,000 miles ice, 10,000 arrows. Perfected Master Silver Moon waved his sleeves and made a series of hand seals. Suddenly, the temperature plummeted as if it was the coldest day of winter. Sparkling and translucent snowflakes fell from the sky and froze the ground. At the same time, numerous ice arrows and icicles condensed from mana shot towards Jiang Tiandong. They were crystal clear and emitted cold air in all directions. Diamond Alms Bowl. Break! An esteemed monk who had entered the Tao shouted and threw a purple-gold alms bowl at Jiang Tianjin. The diamond alms bowl was so powerful that it crushed the air. It emitted a colorful Buddhist aura as it flew toward Jiang Tian. Fire dragon burns the prairie, burn. A Taoist monk at the initial success of ethereal enlightenment held a peachwood sword in his hand. He flicked a yellow talisman at Jiang Tian. Boom! As soon as the talisman burned, a fire dragon over 10 meters long shot out from the talisman. It twisted in the air and flew toward Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian was not afraid at all. He stood proudly in the air and walked toward the crowd as if he was walking on flat ground. Alas, you're just an ant. Why do you have to fight a hopeless battle? Jiang Tian waved his fingers and swept them out. Clang, clang, clang. Perfected Master Silver Moon's icicles and arrows immediately fell apart like rotten wood. Perfected Master Silver Moon suffered from the backlash of his Dharma power. He spat out blood and fell to the ground. He was seriously injured. Jiang Tian raised his hand and condensed his qi into a spear that pierced the diamond alms bowl. Clang. After the diamond alms bowl was pierced, the true Yuan Qi spear did not stop and pierced the Taoist monk's heart. Celestial Martial 18 forms, Void Embrace. When the fire dragon came, Jiang Tian's hands clenched as if he was hugging the sun and the moon. The space between his palms and fingers was pitch black and bottomless. The fire dragon was instantly swallowed up. How is it possible to control fire? Everyone was shocked and couldn't believe it. In the next moment, Jiang Tian pushed his hands out and a blazing white fireball appeared in his palms. It shone so brightly that everything in the surroundings could be seen clearly. It was as if a sun had risen out of thin air. Is he an immortal? Han Yen Er's delicate body trembled and her face was full of disbelief. At this moment, Jiang Tian was standing in the air and controlling the fireball. It was as if a god had descended. If I had attacked him in the forest, I would have been dead by now. My Shilong's face was pale. He was sweating profusely and his body couldn't stop trembling. He's too powerful. I didn't expect him to be a peerless master of both Dharma power and martial arts. Uncle Lu knelt on the ground and worshipped. After Jiang Tian pushed out the fireball, it suddenly exploded. The Taoist monk, more than a dozen elders, Taoist monks, and alchemists were blown to smithereens. Even if they were not killed on the spot, their bodies were covered in flames. They writhed and screamed a few times before dying. He's too powerful. How terrifying. Many overlords of the Shinong school were frightened and quickly retreated. My massacre has just begun, and you're already scared? Jiang Tian killed to his heart's content, and he dove down with a single step to charge to the top of the hall. With a wave of his finger, a sword light that was around 6 m in length swept out, and instantly, 7 or 8 disciples lost their lives. Run! Dozens of guardians and Taoist monks were terrified. They jumped up and down like grasshoppers and hurried to hide in the halls. Humph! You don't dare to fight? Where's the courage you had when you planned to ambush me? Jiang Tian snorted and chased after them. He slammed his palm and a 3-meter-tall rockery collapsed. 3 internal force Taoist monks who were hiding in the rockery turned into a rain of flesh and blood. Boom! Jiang Tian leaped into the air like a dragon emerging from the sea. He flew more than 10 meters into the air, and when he landed, he stomped the 2 spellcasting experts into meat paste. Jiang Tian casually tossed out a talisman that turned into a fire dragon and charged out furiously. It burned a large part of the hall to ashes. The disciples hiding there did not even have the time to scream before they died. Chapter 110. At this time, Jiang Tian was like a harvester. It was a one-sided slaughter. No matter whether you were a master of reaching the mystic realm or a warrior of transforming realm of internal force, he could kill you as easily as crushing ants. For a moment, the whole city of Shinong School suddenly became a hell on earth and a field of carnage. Shrill screams rose one after another. The temple collapsed, the rockery was broken, and black smoke rose to the sky. The ground was covered with corpses and broken limbs. The sticky blood stains were connected together. The strong smell of blood suppressed the fragrance of medicine and could make people fall down. This, our Shinong school has provoked a devil. Reverend Silver Moon was furious. Shock, anger, anxiety, regret, and all kinds of negative emotions came to his heart. His eyes were red. In less than 10 minutes, Jiang Tian had killed nearly 20 martial artists and spellmasters, as well as many alchemists and elite inner disciples. The number of people he had killed was uncountable. What a heavy loss. What made him the most depressed was that no matter which corner these worshippers and disciples were hiding in, Jiang Tian was like an omniscient and omnipotent god, instantly seeing through their hiding place and then killing them with a single move. Jiang Tian was too powerful. He was no match for him at all. At this moment, he realized that he had seriously underestimated Jiang Tian's strength. He couldn't help but feel anxious and sad. Is today the day our Shinong school will be destroyed? You are so arrogant. At this moment, a voice came from the top of Shinong Peak, which was 1,000 meters high. The voice was far away, but it swept through the whole Shinong school like rolling waves. Everyone could hear it clearly. The head has come out of seclusion. The desperate crowd suddenly saw the hope of turning the tables. Reverend Silver Moon knelt on the ground, clasped his hands, looked up at the top of Shinong Peak, and said loudly, "The elders of Shinong School and the disciples of alchemists welcome the head out of seclusion." Thousands of disciples of Shinong School knelt on the ground and shouted in unison with reverence, expectation, and ecstasy. The elders of Shinong School and the disciples of alchemists welcome the head out of seclusion. Hey, get up. With the sect master here, none of you will suffer any harm. A soft sigh was heard, and a small white dot suddenly fell from the top of Shinong, which was over 1,000 meters high. The white dot grew bigger and bigger, and finally turned into a figure with big sleeves fluttering in the wind. Just as he was about to land on the ground, he urged his chi, and 2 wide chi wings appeared on his shoulders out of thin air. They were more than 5 meters long, making him look like a white crane soaring into the sky. With a flap of his long white wings, Zhuzimu glided 100 meters away and landed lightly in front of Jiang Tian. This person was around 40 years of age. He had a thin face, 2 sword-like eyebrows, and eyes that were like morning stars. His white feathered Taoist robe enveloped his tall and straight figure, and his bearing was ethereal like an immortal. Sect leaders, you finally come out. Jiang Tian laughed heartily. Zhuzimu glared at Jiang Tian and said coldly, Kang Teichu, how dare you provoke the Shenong school? I'm not provoking the Shenong school, I'm going to destroy you if you don't submit to me. Jiang Tian's face was calm, and his tone was relaxed as if he had just bought a cabbage in the market. Zhuzimu was enraged by Chen Fan's words. He grinned viciously and said, Kang Teichu, you have reached the transcendent state at such a young age. Unfortunately, you have met me, and I will make you regret it. As he spoke, he took out a jade talisman and shouted, Lightning, come! At that moment, the spirit chi in the air became restless. 300 meters above Jiang Tian's head, the sea of clouds churned and formed a 100-meter-wide swirl of dark clouds. Kaboom! A bolt of lightning as thick as a man's arm shot out like a silver dragon and struck down on Jiang Tian's head. In order to kill Jiang Tian, the sect master had even used the 5 Thunder Jade Talisman. Finally, the devil is going to die. Many elders and disciples were so excited that tears streamed down their faces as they looked up at the lightning bolt in the sky. Everyone knew that the 5 Thunder Jade Talisman was Zhuzimu's favorite. A few hundred years ago, an immortal master of the Heavenly Master sect of the Dragon Tiger Mountain was severely ill and was cured by the sect master of the Shenong school. The Heavenly Master of the Dragon Tiger Mountain was so grateful that he gave the Jade Talisman to the sect master. The 5 Thunder Jade Talisman was made of jade that had been struck by lightning during the prehistoric times. It contained a great deal of thunder energy. The jade had been refined by the Heavenly Master for 60 years, and it had become a jade talisman. During the 60 years, whenever there was a thunderstorm, the Heavenly Master would use the jade talisman to accumulate energy. The energy contained in the jade talisman was enough to level a small mountain. Jiang Tian was only a transcendent state cultivator. Even if he was an immortal state cultivator or a mortal deity, he would still be defeated. In order to protect the foundation of Shenong faction, heads were even used the 5 Thunders Jade Talisman. The 5 Thunder Jade Talisman was a one-time use Dharma treasure. When the Dharma power was used to trigger the lightning, the Jade Talisman had already turned into ashes. Many disciples could not help but feel sorrow in their hearts. They raised their heads to look at the lightning that was striking down at Jiang Tian. Hot tears rolled down their cheeks. Their bodies trembled as they sobbed. Wow, this lightning bolt is interesting. It is exactly the same as the lightning bolts in nature. Jiang Tian looked up. His hair fluttered in the wind and his handsome face was illuminated by the lightning bolt. The lightning bolt flashed as if the Milky Way was falling from the sky. Jiang Tian's lips curled into a smile. He suddenly shouted, "Use your lightning bolt as a sacrifice to my divine power." In the next moment, Jiang Tian took a step in the air and soared into the sky. He was like a god of war in the sky as he welcomed the lightning. What is he trying to do? Do you want to die? Under the horrified gaze of countless Taoist scriptures, Jiang Tian rose hundreds of meters into the sky and bathed in thunder and lightning. Blue electric sparks flickered around his body, and thunderclaps exploded. Lightning manipulation technique. Jiang Tian bellowed in his heart and gestured with his hands. Streaks of lightning, like obedient kittens, actually scrambled into the void between Jiang Tian's hands, forming a ball of lightning. The thunderball was as big as a basketball. It was white and bright, shining brightly, illuminating the entire Shenong school. Every blade of grass, every tree, every mountain, and every rock reflected a strong white light, which made people's eyes tear up. Jiang Tian stood proudly 100 meters above the ground, controlling the heavenly lightning. It was as if an ancient deity had descended to the mortal world. How is this possible? Zwazimu's eyes widened as if he had seen the most unbelievable thing in the world. What bullshit, Shenong's disciples? They're just a bunch of despicable villains who hide evil intentions. You don't deserve to use Shenong as your signboard. In the void above the main hall, Jiang Tian's shout reverberated across the entire valley, shaking many of the 100 medicine sect's disciples to the verge of collapse. You don't deserve to worship Shenong's statue. Jiang Tian was illuminated by the lightning and emitted a white light, as if an immortal had descended to the mortal world. Before his voice faded, he flipped his hands and pushed the thunderball towards Shenong's statue. Boom! Shenong's statue was blasted into two parts from the middle. The upper half of the 100-meter-long body was like a toppling mountain, falling down like a thunderbolt. Boom! The earth quaked and the mountains shook. The entire Shenong school suddenly trembled. The grand hall below was smashed to the point it collapsed, and it transformed into an expanse of broken walls and ruins that had almost been razed to the ground. Smoke and dust billowed and spread hundreds of meters away. Boulders and bricks fell like rain and scattered in all directions on the square in front of the hall. Countless disciples were smashed into meat paste, countless consecrators were thrown off their feet, and countless elders and alchemists vomited blood and fainted from the shock. It was an incomparably shocking scene. Jiang Tian controlled the thunderbolts and condensed them into a thunderball, which broke a gigantic granite statue with a single strike. It was as if Gong Gong had touched the Buzhou mountain, or as if the thunder god had swung down a huge thunderbolt hammer and broke the sky. Is he still a human? Taoist Silvermoon couldn't believe it and was dumbfounded. Who could withstand such a blow if it hit a human body? Shenong's statue is destroyed. I'm the sinner of Shenong school. Zwazimu was in a daze and staggered back. He shook his head and smiled bitterly, his eyes full of despair. Jiang Tian floated down, his white robe spotless like an immortal descending to the mortal world. He leisurely walked toward Zwazimu as if he was taking a stroll in the park and lightly asked, "Zwazimu, do you submit?" Of course, I had never thought that Master Kong could cultivate both Dharma spells and martial arts at the same time. He has reached the transcendent state in martial arts and achieved the Tao body through Dharma spells. Zwazimu lowered his noble head. Under Jiang Tian's peerless power, his knees gave way and he knelt on the ground. Thunder and lightning were extremely hot and could even melt iron and turn rocks into ashes. Thunder and lightning were extremely fast, faster than the speed of sound and almost as fast as the speed of light. Thunder and lightning were the fiercest attacks in the world. Even an immortal state cultivator would have to die in the face of thunder and lightning attacks. However, Jiang Tian was not afraid of thunder and lightning. Was he still a human being? He was a demon god. There was only one explanation for this, and that was that Jiang Tian had already attained the immortal Tao body. In ancient times, he would be the imperial protector of a country, and even the emperor would have to rely on him. "Oh, do you submit?" Jiang Tian linked his hands behind his back and looked at the elders, alchemists, and disciples of Shenong school. "Yes, we submit." The disciples of Shenong school were scared out of their wits by Jiang Tian's control of thunder and lightning. He really did it. He suppressed the entire Shenong school with one hand. At this moment, Shen Mange looked at Jiang Tian, who was standing proudly and surrounded by people kneeling on the ground. She felt as if she had fallen into a dream and couldn't believe it. When Jiang Tian said that he was going to seek justice, Shen Mange thought that Jiang Tian was just throwing an egg at a rock. However, Jiang Tian was not afraid of the 5 Thunder Jade Talisman of the Celestial Master sect of Dragon Tiger Mountain. Their Dharma spells were no match for him at all. She could tell that Jiang Tian was as powerful as a veteran grandmaster or even an immortal state cultivator. If they persisted, the entire Shenong school would be destroyed by Jiang Tian. Zwazimu was also frightened by the thought. He trembled and begged, "Master Kong, please spare our lives for the sake of the Shenong school. I killed so many of your disciples. Are you going to kill me for revenge?" Jiang Tian looked at Zwazimu and asked curiously. Chapter 111. Zhuzimu shuddered and didn't dare to look into Jiang Tian's eyes. He said in a hoarse voice, "Grandmaster Jiang cultivates both magic and martial arts, and his strength is tyrannical. He is invincible even in China. They have eyes but failed to recognize Grandmaster Jiang. They have offended Grandmaster Jiang and died a worthy death." The 5 Thunder Jade Talisman's attack was comparable to the joint attack of more than a dozen transcendent mysterious enlightening masters, but it still could not hurt Jiang Tian. Now that they knew who was stronger and who was weaker, there was no need to fight anymore. Zhuzimu was also a transcendent mysterious enlightening master. He had sharp eyes and profound understanding of Dharma spells. Because of this, he was 10 times more sensitive than ordinary people to notice the huge gap between them. Not bad. You're good. Jiang Tian laughed heartily and then said seriously, "But I'm here just for something. I'm not here to fight to the death." "What does Master Kong want?" Zhuzimu was more than 20 years older than Jiang Tian. Now that he was called a kid by Jiang Tian, he felt a little awkward. But when he thought of Jiang Tian's terrifying strength, he did not dare to fart. So he cupped his fists and asked respectfully. "Not yet." Jiang Tian took out some healing elixirs and said, "Take these and give them to the injured disciples." Then Jiang Tian began to set the bones, heal the wounds, feed the medicine, and perform acupuncture. He was like a barefoot doctor, doing everything by himself. At this time, people realized that Jiang Tian's medical skills were miraculous. Once they took the elixirs, the wounds healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Broken limbs regrew, bones grew, and flesh grew. Soon, the injured people were alive and kicking. Master Kang's elixirs are comparable to the elixirs of immortality. Amazing! Master Jiang's medical skills simply startle heaven and earth and make ghosts and gods weep. That's right. Even the immortal doctors of the ancient times couldn't compare to this. It was unknown just how many people were sighing in admiration, some even shedding tears of gratitude. "Master Kong, I'm truly convinced." Watching his disciples being healed by Jiang Tian, Zhuzimu fell to his knees and kowtowed deeply. If it was said that Jiang Tian had struck fear into everyone's hearts when he swept through the area, the current Jiang Tian made them revere him from the bottom of their hearts. Previously, he felt that Jiang Tian was like a demon. Now, he felt that Jiang Tian was like a god. With one hand, he was invincible and could kill grandmasters and immortal masters as if he were cutting grass. With another hand, he could heal the wounded and heal the dying. Who wouldn't be in awe of such capabilities? Even Shen Mange, Han Yen, and the others looked at Jiang Tian with respect and gentleness, as well as gratitude. Late at night, the medicine god hall was brightly lit. "Master Kong, what kind of elixirs did you use to save people today?" Zhuzimu asked respectfully. "This is the vital energy pill, which replenishes qi and blood. The small recovery pill is used to treat external injuries and poisons." Jiang Tian sat in the armchair on the high platform with his legs crossed. He took out the elixirs and explained. "Oh my God, the 9 orifices elixir. It's a real elixir." Zhuzimu took a closer look and exclaimed. He was more accomplished than Bu Xuanzi in refining elixirs, and he had a better eye for elixirs. At first glance, he knew that these elixirs were many times more powerful and purer than those from Shenong School. "It's almost like an elixir, but the effect is just so. Jiang Tian smiled faintly and didn't take it to heart. These elixirs were refined with common herbs on earth. If they were refined with spiritual herbs and spiritual medicines from the cultivation world, the effect would be 10 times better. How are these elixirs refined? Master Kong, can you teach me a thing or two? Zhuzimu asked timidly like a primary school student in front of his teacher. He was afraid that Jiang Tian wouldn't tell him. It's actually very simple. Jiang Tian casually told him a few prescriptions and refining methods without hiding anything. Even if Zhuzimu knew the prescriptions and refining methods, without the nourishment of Jiang Tian's genuine essence, he could only achieve 10 to 20% of the effect. Jiang Tian didn't mind teaching him. Amazing! It's amazing! There's such a refining method. I see. Zhuzimu was so shocked that he felt that Jiang Tian had opened the door to a new world for him. He had never seen or heard of Jiang Tian's refining methods. They were mysterious and profound. Compared with them, the Shinong school's refining methods were simply rubbish and not worth mentioning. What impressed him even more was that Jiang Tian didn't hide anything and told him everything. How broad-minded and bold he was. After listening to Jiang Tian, Zhuzimu bowed deeply, clasped his hands in front of his chest, and said earnestly, "Grandmaster Jiang, I'm willing to give up my position to you and ask you to become the leader of Shinong sect. If you have any orders, I'll go through water and tread on fire without hesitation." At the bottom of the stairs, Shin Mange and Tang Linglong's beautiful eyes were wide open. They couldn't believe it. The Shinong school had a history of thousands of years. It had a deep foundation, a sea of medicine, a deep abyss of ancient books, and many powerful people. It had friends all over the world. Even 3 or 5 martial arts families couldn't compete with it. However, Master Zhuo was willing to give up his position and let Jiang Tian take over the Shinong school. It was unbelievable. Duke Qiu winked at Jiang Tian, hinting that Jiang Tian should agree. "Thank you for your kindness, Master Zhuo. However, I'm a man of the secular world. I have parents, uncles, a wife, and brothers. I'm afraid that I can't do 2 things at the same time," Jiang Tian said calmly. He sipped the real Yunwu tea and smiled faintly. He actually refused. Shen Mange was shocked and petrified on the spot. "Master Kong." Duke Qiu was anxious. Taking over the Shinong school was a step to the top. "Master Kong, please think about it." However, Master Zhuo and Perfected Silver Moon were anxious and implored him. They didn't want to miss out on a godlike figure like Jiang Tian. As long as Jiang Tian took over the Shinong school, the Shinong school's martial arts, dharma spells, and alchemy arts would reach a new height. It could even compete with the top sects like Shu Mountain, Kunlun, Wudong, and Diansong. In fact, Jiang Tian knew what they were thinking. He smiled faintly. "Master Zhuo, as long as you lend me the Azure Wood Divine Cauldron, I will teach you all the dharma spells, martial arts, and dharma spells. If the Shinong school is in trouble, I won't turn a blind eye to it. Since Master Jiang is useful, our Shinong sect will definitely do our best to help him. How can we refuse?" Master Zhuo waved his hand without hesitation and shouted, "Give me the Azure Wood Divine Cauldron. And all the precious herbs." The best herbs in the Shinong school were all watered by the Azure Wood Divine Cauldron. To be honest, if he didn't know about Jiang Tian's alchemy skills, he would also hesitate and feel the pinch. However, Jiang Tian's ability to refine elixirs was too strong. He could turn something rotten into something magical. He could refine top-grade elixirs with ordinary Chinese medicine. With Jiang Tian's guidance, the Shinong sect could make up for this loss. "Master Kong, please take a look." After a while, Perfected Silver Moon came over with an ancient cauldron. The cauldron was the size of a volleyball. Although it was made of wood, it was very heavy. Engraved with complicated Dharma inscriptions, it carried an ancient aura. It is indeed a 1,000-year-old azure wood. Jiang Tian took the cauldron and looked at it. His heart raced. It could definitely be used as a wood element material to set up the 5 elements array. "Master Kong, is it useful?" Zhuzimu asked nervously. He was afraid that Jiang Tian would be dissatisfied. "It's useful." Jiang Tian took the Azure Wood Divine Cauldron and praised, "Master Zhuo, I owe the Shinong school a favor." "Of course not." Seeing that Jiang Tian had accepted the cauldron, Zhuzimu smiled and bowed deeply. "It is my honor to support Master Kong." "Master Kong, why don't you take a look at these herbs?" Perfected Silver Moon asked his disciples to line up the boxes on the tea table and bowed. Purple sunflower grass. 300 years old. It's so full of spiritual qi. It can be used to make many bone-cleansing pills. Thunder meteorite wood. In prehistoric times, it was struck by lightning and turned into stone instantly. It contains thunder energy and can be used to make thunder magic weapons. Demonic Flame Stone. I didn't expect there to be Demonic Flame Stone on Earth. If I absorb and refine it, it can help me activate Leaf Fire Aura and condense Flame Chi weapons. My combat power can be increased tenfold. Jiang Tian scanned with his divine sense and recognized many cultivation resources. His eyes became more and more excited. In the eyes of the Shenong school, these were just materials for making pills. However, in Jiang Tian's eyes, they were no different from a treasure trove of cultivation. They could help him increase his cultivation and unlock many supernatural powers. At this time, Jiang Tian also had a slight understanding. Earth was not in the age of doom as the martial artists said, and cultivation resources were scarce. In fact, there were many cultivation resources. However, the inheritance of cultivation on Earth had been cut off. These people were like 2-year-old children. Even if they entered a treasure mountain, they could only return empty-handed. This trip to the Shenong school is really worth it. Jiang Tian sighed with satisfaction and asked Tang Linglong to pack everything. By the way, what's the relationship between the Qin family of Jinling and you? Did you lead them to attack the Jiang family? After a while, Jiang Tian suddenly narrowed his eyes and asked coldly, "How dare I? The relationship between the Qin family and our sect is estranged. They just want to buy a few prescriptions." Zuazimu was so scared that he knelt on the ground. Reverend Silver Moon asked, "Master Kong, did Shinbo offend your honor?" Jiang Tian took a sip of tea in satisfaction. His eyes narrowed slightly as he smiled without saying a word. Shen Mange sternly shouted, "Men, bring that bastard Shinbo here." Shenbo was thrown into the room. He lay on the ground and trembled. His face was pale and he begged with a trembling voice, "Master Kong, please spare my life." "Who are the people behind the 3 big families of Jinling?" Jiang Tian asked indifferently. "I don't know, I'm just following orders. Everything is arranged by my grandfather," Chenbo said hurriedly. Jiang Tian used his divine sense to search Chenbo's soul and found nothing. He shook his head disappointedly and said, "Then you can die now." "Master Kong, please spare my life. I can help you find out more information." Chenbo's whole body was trembling like a sieve. Tears and snot flowed down his face as he kowtowed crazily. His head hit the floor fiercely, leaving behind streaks of scarlet blood. He was so scared that he pissed his pants. Chapter 112. I don't need it. Is there any secret in this world that can be hidden from me? Jiang Tian smiled coldly and said with disdain, "Master Kong, please spare my life. I'm willing to serve you like a dog or horse. I won't hesitate to go through water and tread on fire." Chenbo wailed as tears streamed down his face. His nose was full of snot, and he no longer looked like a rich young man. When Jiang Tian saw Chenbo, who had been like a noble in his previous life, submit to him like an old dog, he felt extremely happy in his heart. He muttered to himself, he murmured to himself, "In my past life, you framed the Medicine King Group and ruined their financial chain. You also caused the death of my parents. In this life, I will use your blood to wash away my humiliation and pay tribute to the souls of those who died unjustly." Jiang Tian's eyes reddened as he thought of his parents' wrongful deaths. He waved his hand and said, "Kill him." Bang! Zuazimu stepped forward and smacked Chenbo on the head. Chenbo's brain was crushed and he died on the spot. "Drag him out and feed him to the dogs." Jiang Tian's lips curled into a vicious grin as he waved his hand. A disciple dragged Chenbo's body out of the room. As for how the Shenong sect would explain to the Qin family, they naturally had their own way, and Jiang Tian didn't care about it. In fact, the Shenong school didn't even need to answer to the Qin family. The Qin family was nothing compared to the Shenong school. "Master Kong, Han Yener from the Han family and Mai Shilong from the Mai family are here to see you," the Silver Moon Taoist said with a smile. "Let them in." Jiang Tian also had an indifferent attitude. Besides, he still had a few words to instruct them. "Han Yener and Mai Shilong greet Master Kong." Han Yener and Mai Shilong came in, trembling. They knelt down together and bowed their heads. In Zhonghai, a large international city, they were considered as rich heirs and heiresses. They could do whatever they wanted and call the shots. However, at this moment, when he saw Jiang Tian, he was so scared that he kept quiet out of fear, not even daring to breathe loudly. Han Yenner's face was pale and her heart raced. She didn't even dare to look at Jiang Tian. "Why do you want to see me?" Jiang Tian crossed his legs and sipped his tea contentedly. His face was calm and at ease. He was already the master of Shenong School. "Master Kong, please forgive us for our previous disrespect," my Shilong said in a trembling voice. He would never forget the scene of Jiang Tian rising 100 meters into the air, controlling thunder and lightning, and destroying Shenong's stone statue with a thunderball. Those terrifying scenes had already been deeply imprinted in his mind, causing his heart to palpitate and making him revere Jiang Tian like a demon god. "Oh, it's all right. If there's nothing else, you can leave." Jiang Tian waved his hand indifferently. The two looked at each other and stood up carefully. Han Yen took a deep breath and said, "Yen has a presumptuous request." "What is it?" Han Yen hesitated for a moment, then gritted her teeth and said, "My father has Lou Gehrig's disease. I would like to ask Master Kong to give me a pill." "Oh, that's easy. A fire spiritual pill. Here you go." A pill rolled in front of Han Yen. She kowtowed and said gratefully, "Master Kong, if you come to Zhonghai, the Han family will treat you like a VIP. So will the My family." Mai Shilong quickly added. "All right, cut the crap," Jiang Tian said lightly. "Don't say a word about what you have seen in the past few days. Otherwise, I will kill your entire family." "We would never dare." Mai Shilong and Han Yen were so scared that they knelt on the ground again. For the rest of the week, Jiang Tian first used jade stones and strange wood to set up a small spirit drawing array, which could gather the spirit veins and earth chi. The effect was the same as the green wood divine cauldron, and the spirit chi was even more vigorous. This way, even if the Shenong school gave the azure wood divine cauldron to Jiang Tian, the valley could still produce the best herbs. After that, under the pleading of Zhuzimu and perfected Silver Moon, Jiang Tian gave a lecture at the Shenong school. He taught them martial arts, dharma spells, and alchemy. At this time, not to mention the excellent disciples like Shenmange, even Zhuzimu and perfected Silver Moon were listening to the lecture like obedient students. As soon as Jiang Tian opened his mouth, these elders, alchemists, and elite disciples of the Shenong sect were suddenly enlightened. They listened to him with great interest and were intoxicated. The 9 forms of Shenong was said to be a martial arts cultivation method passed down from Shenong, one of the ancestors of mankind. However, it was incomplete, so the disciples of the Shenong school had given up on it and switched to other cultivation methods. With just one look, Jiang Tian added and perfected it. Jiang Tian described it in an extravagant manner. He spoke tirelessly, from simple to complex, and from profound to profound. The profound meaning that came out of his mouth made everyone's heart soar. The 100-herb scripture of Divine Farmer was the basic ancient book of the Shenong sect's medicine-making and alchemy refining. It had also been reinterpreted and interpreted by Jiang Tian, turning something rotten into something magical. It allowed everyone to gain a lot, and their alchemy level improved rapidly. When Jiang Tian finished talking about these profound meanings, everyone was stunned and couldn't come back to their senses for a long time. The ancient sages and immortals' lectures are just so. When Shenmange came back to her senses, she suddenly shivered and looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief. After listening to Jiang Tian's explanation, she suddenly felt that her understanding of martial arts and alchemy was very shallow. Under Jiang Tian's interpretation, all the ancient books were full of vitality. Even Zhuzimu was not as profound as Jiang Tian. How could such a young man in his early 20s understand so deeply? It was incredible. The lost inheritance of the Shenong school has been continued by Master Kong. It will definitely rise again. With the guidance of Master Jiang, our Shenong school will definitely soar to the sky, soar to the sky. Zhuzimu and Reverend Silver Moon hugged each other and cried. They were so excited that they almost fainted. After the lecture, although Zhuzimu and Reverend Silver Moon tried to persuade him to stay, Jiang Tian was still eager to go home. 10 days ago, Jiang Tian came empty-handed, but when he left, he returned with a full load. Many spirit herbs and cultivation resources were packed into a few big boxes, enough for him to break through again and unlock a few more divine powers. More importantly, he also got the azure wood divine cauldron. Now, he only needed to find the earth element to set up the 5 elements gathering array. Master Kong, I want to be your servant. I wonder if you are still willing to accept me, Master Kong. Just as they were about to leave, Shenmange walked over from the entrance of the valley. She blushed and said bashfully. She was the descendant of the Shen family in Yanjin and the first disciple of the Shenong school. She was spoiled by the sect leader and the elders. No one dared to disobey her. However, at this moment, she was begging Jiang Tian, which made her feel embarrassed and humiliated. Humph, I gave you a chance, but you didn't cherish it. Jiang Tian snorted and waved his sleeves. Isn't it a bit late now? Master Kong, please accept me. Thinking of Jiang Tian's miraculous martial arts, magic arts, and alchemy skills, Shenmange's heart was burning. In a hurry, she actually knelt down in front of Jiang Tian. Did your master agree? Jiang Tian looked at Zhuzimu. Zhuzimu quickly bowed and said sincerely, Master Kong, how could I stop her? If you are willing to accept her, it will be her blessing, and also the blessing of the Shenong school. Okay. Jiang Tian nodded and stood with his hands behind his back. He deliberately mocked her and said, From now on, you are my slave, and I am your master. You actually want me to be your slave, this slave? Shenmange's face turned red. A sense of humiliation welled up spontaneously. Mange, why do you care about these words? They are the same in essence. As long as you can follow Master Kong, it will be enough. Kowtow and thank him. Zhuzimu and Reverend Silvermoon were so anxious that they stomped their feet. They were afraid that Jiang Tian would not accept her if he was unhappy. Master, thank you for accepting me, Shenmange blushed, and the crimson color spread to her neck and ears. Her crystal earlobes looked as if they were about to bleed. But when she shouted out those words and kowtowed, she felt the pain of being conquered. She was inwardly amazed. Do I subconsciously like to be abused and have always been eager to be conquered by such a strong master? Get up. Hearing Jiang Tian's words, Shenmange hurriedly got up and pulled Tang Linglong's arm. She said sweetly, Senior sister, you must be tired from the journey. I'll drive on the road. Why are you trying to get close to me? You can't mess up the seniority and status. Remember, you are my slave. You are not qualified to be my disciple. You don't deserve to be called senior. Before Tang Linglong could say anything, Jiang Tian's words hit Shenmange so hard that she burst into tears. Hangkou, Hong family mansion. Hong Tianzhao's coffin was placed in the morning hall. Countless family members and children were crying and wailing. The mournful music and cries shook the sky. The whole mansion was filled with mournful and somber atmosphere. In the meeting hall, the senior members of the Hong family were present. They were holding a family meeting. Among them were several chairmen of listed companies. There was also no lack of internal force and iron body martial arts masters. Hong Junshan, the previous head of the Hong family and Hong Tianzhao's biological father, was at the peak of internal force and was also a martial arts master. Originally, he was already 70 years old. He had white hair and a youthful complexion. He was hale and hearty, smiling all day long. However, at this moment he was sitting high up in the hall. His face was full of sorrow and decadence. It was as if all his energy had been sucked out. However, deep in his eyes, there was a hint of killing intent. A white-haired person sending off a black-haired person. How sad and desperate was this? We must take revenge. Kong Teichu, it's fine if you want to be arrogant in Linzhou, but how dare you bully our Hong family? Hong Junshan said fiercely, in the family, all the masters above the peak of Iron Body go to Linzhou. We must tear Kong Teichu into pieces. Kill Kong Di. Show the power of the Hong family. Hong Tianzhao's son, Hong Hichu, who had already reached the mid-stage of Iron Body, shouted with tears in his eyes. Kill Kong Di. Show the power of the Hong family. An army filled with righteous indignation was bound to win. At this moment, countless members of the Hong family raised their arms and cheered. Old Master, Something bad has happened. Suddenly, a member of the Hong family rushed into the room. Luo Shui, what made you so nervous? Hong Junshan furrowed his brows. This was the grandson of his eldest son. He was quite talented. 3 years ago, he entered Shinong School to cultivate. Now, he had already achieved initial success in his internal force cultivation. He had always been calm and steady. The Shinong School was defeated by Kang Taichu. Zhang Enin, Wei Bufan and dozens of transcendent state martial artists were killed by Kang Taichu. Hong Luo Shui fell to the ground and said in a trembling voice, "What did you say?" Hong Junshan couldn't believe it. He was completely petrified as if he had been struck by lightning. Chapter 113. Perfected Cultivator Silver Moon was severely injured and was almost killed by Kang Taichu's chi weapon. Masters Wu took out the 5 Thunder Jade talisman given to him by the Celestial Master Sect of Longhu Mountain and shot out a 12-meter-long thunderbolts. However, Jiang Taichu soared into the sky while bathing in the thunderbolts. He controlled the thunderbolts and smashed the 20-meter-tall Shinong statue. Zuazimu knelt and admitted defeat. Hong Luo Shui trembled in fear as she recalled the horrifying battle that day. Her face turned pale. He could even defeat Perfected Cultivator Silver Moon and Zuazimu. He could even withstand the 5 Thunder Jade talisman. Hong Junshan's face paled as if he had seen a ghost in broad daylight. He said in a trembling voice, "He is a Dharma cultivator." Sect leaders also said that he had achieved Dao body in Dharma spells and was as good as a grandmaster in martial arts. He could even be called an elixir king or elixir king. Hong Luoshui's words silenced the crowd. Everyone was petrified and could not believe what they had just heard. Hong Junshan's face changed rapidly. After a while, he heaved a sigh and said, "His Dao body is as good as a perfected cultivator, his martial arts is as good as a grandmaster, and he is also an expert in alchemy. We can't afford to offend someone like him." "Grandpa, what are you talking about? Could it be that my father died just like that?" Hong Hichu was a hot-tempered man. His face flushed red as he shouted at the top of his lungs. "Shut up! Don't you know how to keep a low profile?" Hong Junshan slammed the table and scanned the room with his dignified eyes. He said coldly, "From now on, whoever dares to provoke Kang Taichu and bring disaster to the Hong family will be killed without mercy." Everyone in the Hong family was dejected after hearing Hong Junshan's words. Despair and helplessness were written all over their faces. Not only that, the Tang sect of Shu province and the Chapgua fist of Zhongzhou had also received the news. "Have you heard? There is a martial arts grandmaster in Linzhou. I heard that he is only in his 20s. Bullshit. A martial arts grandmaster is a transcendent state cultivator. No one can reach that level before 40. Why would I lie to you? He killed Hong Tianzhao, the transcendent grandmaster of the Hong family in Hengkao." What? Hong Tianzhao had been in the transcendent state for more than 10 years, but he was killed by him. Who is he? Lin Zhou Kang Taichu. Jiang Tian returned as a cultivator. In just 3 months, he had swept through half of Huaxia in an almost invincible manner. From a nobody, he had become a legend, the youngest grandmaster. A few days later, another earth-shattering piece of news came. The Huaxialong Formation had rated Jiang Tian as one of the top 20 grandmasters in Huaxia. Immediately, Kang Taichu's name spread throughout the world. Singapore, Gua family residence. This mansion was located in the heart of Singapore, where every inch of land was worth its weight in gold. However, it occupied an area of 500 to 600 acres as if it was free. The 4-lane asphalt road, the endless lawn, and the rippling water of the man-made lake were all a testament to the immense wealth of the Gua family. The Gua family was one of the top 20 families in the world. Their net worth was in the hundreds of billions of new dollars. Their businesses were in luxury hotels, shipping, energy, telecommunications, and many other industries. Only with such wealth could they occupy such a large mansion. In a magnificent office, the current head of the Gua family, Gua Junfeng, sat in the middle of the room. A large group of middle-aged men in their 40s were watching a video. The video was sent from Huaxia to Linzhou. It was the footage of the battle between Jiang Tian and Xing Shanu. The entire meeting room was silent and the atmosphere was heavy. The video was short. 5 minutes later, Guo Junfeng ended the video. He looked at Guo Lily, who was weeping silently in the corner of the meeting room. "Lily, don't cry. It seems like you didn't get the life crystal from him." "That's understandable." As the eldest son of the Guo family's second generation, Guo Junfeng was 45 years old. Due to his father's illness, he was already in charge of the family. His nose was straight, his mouth was square, and his face was flushed red. He had an extraordinary presence and a powerful aura. "Now, I believe you. You might have met the monster. He might have killed the white ape with a single slash." He glanced at Guo Lily, his fingers tapping rhythmically on the table as he asked, "What do you think about the life crystals and Jiang Tian?" "Brother, only the life crystal can cure father's strange illness." A middle-aged man said, "This Jiang Tian is strong, but we have to get him back." "That's right. Have you ever thought about it? If he can even subdue an expert from the Big Circle gang, who else can do it?" An old man wearing a tang suit asked. He was the younger brother of the previous head of the Guo family and also Guo Junfeng's second uncle. He was a senior figure and held a lot of weight in the family. Everyone was silent. They already knew how strong Jiang Tian was. No ordinary person could compare to him. Suddenly, Guo Junfeng sighed and said with a complicated expression, "Looks like we have to ask Master Wang Chongyan for help this time. If he is willing to help, then Jiang Tian is definitely no match for him. He is one of the top 5 grandmasters in the Chinese world." Hearing this, even second uncle revealed a look of reverence and adoration. He sighed deeply. "Who is Wang Chongyan?" Many of the younger generation were confused. Wang Chongyan, a veteran grandmaster. He has been famous since the Republic of China. He was once the chief instructor of Jiang Gong's bodyguards. The second uncle sighed. "When I went to Southeast Asia with my brother, he was already like a living god. He was on the same level as Huang Jinrong, Du Yuesheng, and Zhang Xiaolin. The Blue Cloth Society that he established is able to suppress the Green Gang and the Hong Gang. It is the intelligence organization that Jiang Gong values the most. The number of disciples under it is as many as the clouds, and the number of experts are as many as the trees in the forest. Even the military commander, Boss Dai Li, is somewhat wary of it. Years ago, he lost to Yi Tianren and withdrew from Huaxia. You might not have heard of Yi Tianren, but you might have heard of another person." He sighed. "Who?" "Yi Zhantian. The most powerful man in China, Yi Zhantian, the leader of the Dragon Group, is Yi Tianren's son." Second uncle seemed to be immersed in deep memories. He sighed and said, "After the Battle of the River Crossing, Yi Tianren, the most powerful martial artist in Yan, went south to stabilize the power of the people. With a sword in his hand, he wiped out the Hong sect, the Blue Cloth Society, and the Green Gang. Even Wang Chongyan lost to him. That was why he fled to Southeast Asia. Is Wang Chongyan in Singapore? Is our family related to him?" Someone asked. "Wang Chongyan is in Singapore. He formed the Chinese Society of Singapore. Many of the evil arts experts in Southeast Asia were recruited by him." The second uncle sighed. "He is the guardian of Singapore. Otherwise, the Great Circle would have taken over Singapore a long time ago. The 5 most powerful Chinese families in Singapore follow his lead. Every year during the Spring Festival, we have to bow to him 3 times and 9 times. The second uncle said, "Plus, no matter who the president of Singapore is, he has to give his approval first. Doesn't that mean he is like an emperor?" Everyone asked incredulously. The Guo family was the most powerful family in Singapore. Many of them were members of the parliament or the speaker of the parliament. Therefore, they were well informed. However, this was the first time they had heard of such a secret. "Second uncle, we are too young. I am afraid that he will only listen to your request." Guo Junfeng sighed. But the second uncle nodded and picked up the antique phone. He shook it a few times and dialed a string of numbers. After a while, the second uncle heaved a sigh. Wang Chongyan is in seclusion. He said that a transcendent martial artist is not worth his time. Everyone was filled with despair and helplessness. However, the second uncle cracked a smile and said, "However, he has agreed to let Baong of Kuan Tian from the Chinese Society of Singapore help him. And Meng Kong, the ancient Muay Thai master. He is the evil sorcery master who can fly down, raise Kumanthong, and control ghosts." Guo Lily exclaimed. Her face was filled with shock, but there was a hint of excitement in the depth of her eyes. Baong of Kuan Tian was a name that everyone in Singapore had heard of. Countless dignitaries and tycoons treated him as a guest of honor. Legend had it that he was an eminent monk from Thailand. His flying technique could take a person's life from 100 meters away. The Kumanthong he raised could bring luck and happiness. The infatuation gu could make the prodigal son wake up and become obsessed with love for the rest of his life. Gu Junfeng let out a proud smile and said confidently, "Baong of Kuan Tian is from Thailand. He is one of the top 3 evil sorcery masters in Southeast Asia. Even though Jiang Tian is a martial artist, he is still a mortal. He is no match for Baong of Kuan Tian." He pointed at Guo Lily and said with a smile, "Lily, you are the one who found out about Jiang Tian. Besides, you have been to Linzhou many times. You will accompany Baong of Kuan Tian this time." "Yes, father. I will not disappoint you this time. I will return with a full load and cure Grandpa as soon as possible." Guo Lily stood up and clenched her fists to show her loyalty. However, she was furious in her heart. "Jiang Tian, oh Jiang Tian, you've been disrespectful to me time and time again. This time, you have 2 experts accompanying me. See if I don't tear you to pieces. You will be so scared that you will kneel and beg for mercy." In the 20 days that Jiang Tian had been gone, Zhao Xueqing had been longing for Jiang Tian's return. "You bastard, you went out for more than half a month. Do you still have me in your heart? Do you think you can bribe me by sending some specialties back? I will not be bribed so easily. When you come back, I will spank your ass." Sometimes she would grit her teeth and brandish her claws. "Tsk, he will definitely like this new dish that I just learned. I wonder how he will praise me when I come back." Sometimes, her heart was filled with anticipation, longing, and tenderness. He is so funny. He forced Yang Guochang to kneel just because he offended me. He can't bear to see me suffer even a little bit. How much does he love me? He is really an idiot. He is selling his blood and still wants to make me a bracelet. No matter if you can control lightning or hurt people from a distance, you will always be a lunatic in my heart. You are the idiot who treats me like a treasure." Most of the time, she rested her chin on her hand and thought of the beautiful past. She was in a daze and shed tears. With a creak, the door opened. Zhao Xueqing stood up, only to see a figure appearing at the door. If it wasn't Jiang Tian, who else could it be? Chapter 114. "Jiang Tian, you're finally back." Zhao Xueqing stood up and walked to Jiang Tian's side. She touched his cheek and said with a pained expression, "Look, you're tanned. Was the journey tiring?" Tears rolled down her cheeks and she forgot to wipe them. She just looked at Jiang Tian lovingly, at the face that she missed so much. It's okay. I'll just take it as a vacation." Jiang Tian smiled faintly and wiped away her tears. At this moment, Zhao Xueqing realized that there was a beautiful woman following behind Jiang Tian. She was tall and slender, with exquisite curves. Her skin was smooth and creamy. She had a beautiful face without any makeup, but it was still as beautiful as the morning sun reflecting the snow. Who is she?" Zhao Xueqing opened her mouth and realized that her voice was trembling badly. Her heart was in her mouth and it was so tight that it was difficult for her to breathe. Her pretty face was already pale. Jiang Tian used to be a playboy. He hung around bars and nightclubs all day and hooked up with countless women. Now, Jiang Tian's martial arts were shocking and his abilities were extraordinary. Many rich people submitted to him. It was natural for him to have multiple wives and concubines. How could she stop him? "Oh, this is our maid. You can think of her as a maid or a bodyguard. Her name is Shenmange." Jiang Tian smiled gently, then turned to glare at Shenmange and said, "Come and greet me." This is my wife. You have to greet me every day and kowtow 3 times and 9 times. If you dare to disrespect me, I won't forgive you. There's actually such a beautiful woman in this world. She's like an immortal. Shen Mange was proud of her beauty, but when she saw Zhao Xueqing, she realized that she was slightly inferior to her. She gasped in admiration. Her features were picturesque, and her temperament was ethereal. She had a kind of refined aura, like a fairy from the 9th heaven. She seemed to be an otherworldly person. At this moment, she also understood why Jiang Tian kept thinking about her when they were in Hengkao and Shenong school. She couldn't help but be envious and jealous. Maid Mange greets mistress. At this moment, after hearing Jiang Tian's scolding, Shen Mange came back to her senses. She was so scared that her delicate body trembled. Then she walked to Zhao Xueqing and kowtowed 9 times respectfully. She's our maid? Zhao Xueqing was deeply shocked. Shen Mange's body exuded a noble aura that could only be cultivated by a rich and powerful family. It couldn't be faked, but at this moment, she actually knelt down in front of her and called her mistress. But because of this, Zhao Xueqing also let down her guard and felt relieved. She quickly helped Shen Mange up and said with a smile, "Sister Mange, please get up. Don't listen to Jiang Tian. In the future, we can call each other sisters. There's no need to be so polite." Shen Mange was distressed. The etiquette was even stricter than in the sect. Hearing this, she couldn't help but have a good impression of Zhao Xueqing. She thought that she was much easier to get along with than her master, the Devil King. She looked at Jiang Tian again, as if asking for his opinion. Jiang Tian waved his hand indifferently and said, "In our family, mistress is the most important. Whatever she says goes. If she says you don't need to kneel, then you don't need to kneel." "Yes, mistress. I understand." Shen Mange was speechless. She secretly despised him. "You are so arrogant outside, but I didn't expect that you are also a henpecked husband at home." She was letting her imagination run wild. Suddenly, Jiang Tian pointed at her and said, "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and cook." Yes. "I'll go now." Shen Mange wanted to cry but had no tears. She quickly went into the kitchen and got busy. "Jiang Tian, you should be more polite to her. A maid is also a person." Zhao Xueqing rebuked Jiang Tian and followed him in. She whispered, "No, let me do it. I learned 2 new dishes. But I'll help you pick the vegetables." Seeing this, Shen Mange didn't dare to steal the limelight. She quickly gave up the position of the chef and just helped. After a while, the 2 girls worked together to cook the dishes. When the dishes were served, Jiang Tian and Zhao Xueqing chatted while eating. "Mange, your cooking skills are too bad." Jiang Tian took a bite of the steamed base. His face was as cold as frost. He reprimanded her with cold eyes, "It's simply unappetizing. With your standard, you won't be able to get married. In the future, you will have to go to New Oriental to study." Shen Mange smiled awkwardly and didn't dare to defend herself. Zhao Xueqing's face darkened. She pouted and said, "Jiang Tun, these dishes were all cooked by me. Sister Mange only helped me pick the vegetables, wash them, and cut them." "Oh, is that so?" Jiang Tian was thinking about the array before, so he didn't pay attention to this. When he heard this, he suddenly realized that he had made a mistake. He was so scared that his face turned pale. He quickly smiled and said, "I'm talking about your knife skills." "Well, your knife skills are too bad. You stir-fried it well, very well. It's salty and light, and the heat control is subtle. You're almost as good as a 5-star Michelin chef." Zhao Xueqing pulled a long face and didn't say anything. It was unknown whether she was dissatisfied with Jiang Tian's comments or worried about her cooking skills. "Delicious. Delicious." Jiang Tian took big bites of the food and proved his conclusion with practical actions. He said pitifully, "Qing, don't be angry. I'll wash the dishes later, okay?" Great Demon King, I didn't expect you to have such a day." Shen Mange held back her laughter and gloated. Jiang Tian quickly changed the topic and talked about what he had seen and heard these days. He bragged and exaggerated as much as he could. Finally, Zhao Xueqing became concerned and asked questions from time to time. After dinner, Zhao Xueqing wanted to tidy up Shen Meng's room. Jiang Tian waved his hand and said, "How can she stay here? She's disturbing our private time. Let her go to King's #1 mansion." After Ghost Kick took Shen Meng away, Zhao Xueqing laughed and said, "Can you bear to let such a beauty go? Can't she stay and be your servant to warm your feet?" Jiang Tian, who was drinking tea, was so shocked that he spat out a mouthful of water. He almost choked to death. His face turned red as he waved his hand and said, "Xueqing, what are you talking about? What beauty? In my eyes, she's not even comparable to a strand of your hair." White ape demonic core, ice crystal, heptagold iron essence, green wood divine cauldron. He only lacked the earth element. However, Jiang Tian understood the principle of working on two fronts at the same time. Naturally, he wouldn't give up looking for the earth element materials. However, he also had to start looking for some supplementary materials. The next day, Jiang Tian summoned Tang Wanyan, Yi Gufeng, Dragon Fifth, Xue Mingyi, and the other tycoons of Jiangbei to the Crouching Dragon Villa. He asked them to gather some supplementary materials. Thousand Silk Attraction, Yama Vines, Gloomy Wood, Mystic Earth, 5-colored Buddha Clay, Chalcedony. Jiang Tian made a long list. It would cost at least 200 to 300 million to gather all of these materials, not to mention the manpower and the information cost. "Master Kong, don't worry. We will turn Huaxia upside down. If we find nothing, we will bring our heads to you." Tang Wanyan slapped his chest and swore. He couldn't help but think of Elder Tang's evaluation of Jiang Tian. Yesterday, Tang Linglong returned to the Tang family and reported everything that happened during Jiang Tian's trip to Shenong School. After listening to the report, Elder Tang was stunned. He pondered for a long time and finally said something shocking. "Master Kong is a cultivator of both martial arts and Dharma spells. He has made rapid progress. He can even beat Shenong School. In 10 years, Master Kong will be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with Yi Zhantian of the Huaxia Long Formation." Thinking of his father's words, Tang Wanyan felt as if he had been injected with chicken blood. If Master Kong could stand shoulder to shoulder with Yi Zhantian, then as his lackey, he would be able to soar to the sky. As the saying goes, when a man achieves the Tao, even his chickens and dogs will ascend to the sky. If Master Kong achieves the Tao, then I will be the lackey. The other tycoons also agreed to meet Jiang Tian's request even if they had to spend all their wealth. "This time, you have a great chance." Jiang Tian sat in the armchair with his legs crossed. His face was calm and relaxed. "These materials are not as rare as the 5 elements. I should be able to find them." As he spoke, he sighed and smiled wryly. "It's just that the earth element material is hard to come by. The material must be able to trigger the aura of the earth veins thousands of miles away. It must be Shenhuang thick earth." At this time, the Feng Shui Master Qi was suddenly stunned. Then he stood up and said excitedly, "Master Jiang, I've heard of a magic weapon called the mysterious yellow clay jar." Where did you hear of it? What does it look like?" Jiang Tian was a little interested and asked indifferently. Master Qi quickly bowed and said, "Master Kong, I am actually a disciple of Sima Zhai, the great Feng Shui master of Hong Kong. According to seniority, I am his disciple's grandson." "Oh, I didn't expect you to have such a big background." Jiang Tian smiled faintly. "I wouldn't dare. I've embarrassed myself in front of Grandmaster Jiang." Master Qi hurriedly said, 10 years ago, when Hong Kong returned to China, the Wei family of Yang Cheng and several other major families of Hong Kong were fighting over several major ports and shipping routes in Hong Kong. Both sides were in a fierce fight and suffered heavy casualties. Later, Hong Kong asked Sima Zhai to cast a spell to suppress the Wei family. Later, Wei Shuofeng fought with Sima Zhai on the peak of Jiolong Mountain for 3 days. Master Qi's face was filled with shock and fascination. He could not forget the battle that day. That battle caused the Jiolong Mountain to crumble and the earth to crack. The sound of the battle shook the central ring 10 miles away. A hurricane blew and thunder fell from the sky. The entire Hong Kong was shaken. After 3 days of battle, The two of them were evenly matched. There was no clear winner. Instead, they appreciated each other. At the last moment, Su Majai used the finger array's most powerful finger combo technique, while Wei Shuofeng took out the mystic yellow clay jar, stirring up the mystic yellow earth qi within dozens of kilometers of Nine Dragon Mountain. The mountain range rose and fell like an earth dragon. The black-yellow earth qi formed a 10-meter-long earth qi azure dragon. It rushed down and broke Su Majai's 10-finger combo kill. After that battle, Su Majai spat out a mouthful of blood. I don't know how serious his injury was, but he started to cultivate in seclusion on Lantau Island. He hasn't shown up since 10 years ago. But after the battle, Su Majai once commented that Wei Shuofeng was the best in the world when it came to earth element attacks. Hearing this, Jiang Tian was a little tempted. He asked lightly, "Do you have any photos or videos?" The Hong Kong police station strictly forbade any photos or videos. However, a reporter used a high-powered SLR camera to take a picture, but it was a bit blurry. Master Qi hurriedly presented a photo. "Is this an immortal?" Everyone gathered behind Jiang Tian and poked their heads out to take a look. They were instantly shocked. On the peak of Jiulong Mountain, a blurry figure stood 100 meters high in the air, holding something in his hand. Between the sky and the earth, there was a bleak yellow color. The Shenhuang Earth Qi formed a giant dragon, emitting rays of golden light as it circled behind the figure. Jiang Tian's eyes lit up, and then he let out a long sigh. Alas, to be able to draw upon Shenhuang Earth energy, this should be the jar that I need. Chapter 115. Everyone looked at each other and remained silent for a long time. "Why are you hesitating? You don't want to spend money?" Tang Wanyan slapped his thigh and said, "Since it's in the hands of the Wei family, we will buy it from Master Kong no matter how much it costs." Yi Gufeng rolled his eyes at him and said, "Idiot! The Wei family is a century-old family. They are even richer than you and me. Do you think they lack money?" Master Feng is right. Master Qi nodded and said, "Moreover, this jar is a family heirloom of the Wei family. It has been with Wei Shuofeng for decades. I'm afraid that it has become his natal dermic artifact. He will never sell it." What is a natal dermic artifact? Everyone was confused. A natal dermic artifact is a dermic artifact that has been refined with a secret method and formed a blood connection with its owner. Master Qi said, "This way, the dermic artifact and its owner are connected as if it has a spirit. Once activated, the dermic artifact will act like an extension of the body. But at the same time, there is a huge drawback." "What is it?" everyone asked. Master Qi said seriously, "Once the owner loses the dermic artifact, his body and lifespan will be damaged. In short, if one loses, all loses. Under such circumstances, why would the Wei clan sell the jar to us?" Everyone came to a realization. "Then we will take it." Zhou Zhenghao slammed the table and said evilly, "I will go overseas and find a few assassins and mercenaries. Bang, 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 bang. We will destroy the Wei family. I told you that the Wei family has a strong foundation of spells and even ethereal enlightenment experts. You are courting death." Dragon Fifth rolled his eyes at him and almost scolded him for being brainless. Zhou Zhenghao was anxious. He pulled his hair and said, "What should we do? We can't buy it and we can't beat them. Alright, the meeting is over. Let's end it here." Jiang Tian waved his hand and walked out of the door. "You only need to do one thing. Investigate all the core members of the Wei family and give it to me." He looked up at the starry sky, and the corners of his mouth curved into a mocking smile. His eyes were deep, and no one knew what he was thinking. Ever since Zhao Xueqing became the chairman of the Zhao Pharmaceutical Company, she had cut off all the products in the past month. According to Jiang Tian's design, she had built 3 new production lines and focused on making the muscle-nourishing ointment. As soon as this medicine was introduced to the market, it swept through the entire market like a hurricane. The price was not considered expensive, but the efficacy was amazing. Any skin lesions such as poisonous sores, ulcers, stubborn spots, and so on, as long as the ointment was applied, After a course of treatment, the skin would be completely healed, as if it had been reborn. Chairman, there's another big order. Our production line can't keep up. Assistant Zhou Liwen walked into the office, panting. These days, orders were flying in like snowflakes, and the delivery time was a year later. The assets of the Zhao Pharmaceutical Company were also expanding rapidly. There were already more than 1 billion yuan in the account. Husband, let's expand the production line. After Zhou Liwen left, Zhao Xueqing glanced at Jiang Tian and couldn't hide her smile. In this 1 month, she had pushed the Zhao Pharmaceutical Company to a height that she had never dared to imagine before. Then again, she also knew that her management ability wasn't outstanding. In the end, it was because Jiang Tian's improved prescription was too magical. Zhao Xueqing had already adapted to her identity as the chairman. She wore a professional suit that accentuated her curves. The 8 blessings necklace that Jiang Tian gave her hung on her neck. It reflected a dazzling light that made her face glow, making her look even more radiant. She was capable and elegant. Her face was radiant, and she looked like a strong woman in the workplace. No need, Jiang Tian sat on the sofa and put down a Chinese medicine book. The Medicine King Group's products aren't selling well, and the production line might be idle. We'll use their production line. These days, when he was free, he would accompany Zhao Xueqing in the company and even participate in some business activities. In order to be legitimate, Jiang Tian had a nominal position as the chairman's assistant in the company. As for the real relationship between the two, it was still unknown. Okay, then I'll call Mom. Zhao Xueqing quickly dialed Zhang Wanqing's number. When the call was connected, Zhao Xueqing smiled. Mom, I have a product that's selling well, but the production line isn't enough. I want to use the Medicine King Group's production line. Which product? Zhang Wanqing asked in disbelief. To put it bluntly, the Zhao Pharmaceutical Company was half dead, and the production line could only be considered half operational. Since when did they need to expand the production line? The muscle-nourishing plaster. What? That product is selling well, and it's actually yours? Where did you get these secret recipes? Jiang Tian made it. Zhao Xueqing was overjoyed. Mom, don't you know? Tisk, how can I not know his level in medicine? Zhang Wanqing didn't believe her at all. She smiled. Qingya, don't flatter him. It's more like what you've researched. She checked the patent registration and smiled. Moreover, the patent holder is also in your name. Mom, it's really Jiang Tian's invention. He didn't want to show his face in public, so he had to register it under my name. Zhao Xueqing didn't know how to explain. Hearing this, Jiang Tian also looked helpless. It seemed that his mother still couldn't change her opinion of him. Well, let's not dwell on this issue. Zhang Wanqing smiled. My production line is also half operational. There's no problem at all if you use it for production. I will also strictly control the product quality. Thank you, Mom. The outsourcing fee will be calculated according to the market price. I'll pass the production process to you right away. Zhao Xueqing smiled sweetly. What are you thanking me for? In fact, you've solved Mom's urgent problem. Zhang Wanqing said. The two discussed some more details. Zhao Xueqing hung up the phone and hugged Jiang Tian. She smiled and said, Hubby, you're amazing. This product is simply earth-shattering. She deeply understood the value of Jiang Tian's prescription. A small Dianin Bai Yao, whose effect was far inferior to the muscle-nourishing ointment, had a market value of tens of billions. 5 or 10 years later, if Zhao's pharmaceutical company was listed, it would probably be able to suppress Dianin Bai Yao. This is nothing. There will be better prescriptions later. Jiang Tian smiled faintly. The muscle-nourishing ointment was just an unintentional improvement. He had been cultivating for thousands of years, and the elixir prescriptions in his hands were countless. The muscle-nourishing ointment was just a low-end prescription. If he really took out his trump card prescription, he was afraid that it would sweep Huaxia and shock the world. Even those pharmaceutical giants would have to admit that they were inferior. Hubby, you're simply amazing. Zhao Xueqing kissed Jiang Tian and smiled sweetly. Little girl, You actually took advantage of me. No, I have to pay you back. Jiang Tian hugged his wife as if she was a warm and fragrant jade. His heart was filled with satisfaction. You took advantage of me and yet you're still acting innocent. No, I won't let you kiss me. Chairman. At that moment, Zhou Liwen knocked on the door and entered. Zhao Xueqing quickly got up from Jiang Tian's embrace. Her face was flushed red as she asked, "What's the matter?" Zhou Liwen looked at Jiang Tian in surprise. Why did the chairman seem to be sitting in his embrace? Didn't this guy just resign from the public relations department and become Zhao Xueqing's assistant? Could it be that the chairman has a male pet? It was inappropriate for her to ask further. She quickly said, "Chairman, Heo Ji of Yuanyuan Pharmaceutical Company in Yangcheng wants to see you. He wants to invite you for dinner." Yuanyuan Pharmaceutical Company? Zhao Xueqing was stunned. Then she quickly said, "Okay, I'll agree to it. Put it on the agenda. A big deal is coming." This pharmaceutical company was famous in South China. They were located in Yangcheng and their products were spread across the country. Furthermore, they had over 100 branches across the country. If the Zhao family pharmaceutical company could form a partnership with Yuanyuan Pharmaceutical Company, their products would definitely be sold across the country. Just as Zhou Liwen left, a cheer came from outside. "Secretary Tang is here." "Welcome, Secretary Tang." "Which Secretary Tang?" Zhao Xueqing was stunned when she heard the cheers. Jiang Tian faintly smiled. His expression was calm as he said, "Who else could it be? Tang Weimin." As he spoke, Tang Linglong had already skipped in. She smiled. "Master, Sister Qingya, what are you doing here instead of cultivating at home? Have you learnt the 13 Taishen swords that I taught you previously?" Jiang Tian rolled his eyes. This sword technique was taught to her by Jiang Tian on the way back from Shenong school. He had ordered her not to go out for a year and to practice diligently. "Didn't I miss you, Master's wife?" Tang Linglong looked sad. She shook Zhao Xueqing's hand and said, "Master's wife, look, he's being mean to me again." "Ignore him." Zhao Xueqing smiled gently. "But don't blame your master. A strict master produces a fine disciple." "Of course. This sword technique is really powerful. I fought against my grandfather a few days ago and he was defeated by me," Tang Linglong said proudly. "Are you satisfied after defeating Elder Tang?" Jiang Tian laughed involuntarily and shook his head lightly. This girl didn't know how powerful the 13 Taishen swords were. This sword technique was created by him and his old friend, the Taishen Celestial Master in the continent of the Nine Clouds. It was known for its powerful attacks. Back in the days, Tai Xian the Celestial Master used to be a humble woodcutter. He relied on that sword skill to start his career. He defeated 13 extremely strong sword sects in a row. He shook the entire continent of the Nine Clouds. In the end, he accepted the mandate of heaven and became a celestial emperor. It could be said that in all of Huaxia, even Shu Mountain and Wu Dang, who were famous for their swordsmanship, no one could defeat this sword technique. While they were talking, Tang Weimin came in with Secretary Kai and the others. "Congratulations, Madam Jiang. This skin-nourishing ointment is famous all over the country. Welcome, Secretary Tang. Our achievements are inseparable from the support of the municipal government." Zhao Xueqing stepped forward and shook hands with Tang Weimin with a joyful expression. She wasn't being polite. Zhao Pharmaceuticals' new production line cost 100 million. Zhao Pharmaceuticals' pitiful cash flow couldn't be leveraged. It was Tang Weimin who personally called the City Investment Group and took out a 100 million interest-free loan to acquire the first pharmaceutical factory, a state-owned enterprise in the city. In addition, the municipal government gave them the green light to collect taxes and industrial land. A prescription personally improved by Grandmaster Jiang. What kind of heaven-defying existence is that? It's our responsibility to do this for the benefit of the people. Tang Weimin didn't dare to be arrogant. He quickly saluted Jiang Tian and said humbly. Jiang Tian just smiled indifferently. Both sides exchanged greetings for a while. Tang Weimin dismissed his servants and said with a smile, Master Kong, this time I came with a big order for you. How big is the order? Jiang Tian smiled. 2 billion. Tang Weimin smiled. Chapter 116. Hearing that, Zhao Xueqing was shocked. What kind of company was able to get such a big order in one go? Jiang Tian had long since figured it out. It must be the military's order. Only the military could handle such a large order. Moreover, the muscle-nourishing ointment was used to treat external injuries. In modern society, only the military soldiers would suffer from external injuries during their daily training. Master Kang's foresight is divine. Tang Weimin smiled. This is the Empress's order. First, it will be tested in Lingnan Military District. If the results are satisfactory, it will be distributed to the entire army. Distributed to the entire army. Zhao Xueqing was so excited that her face turned red, making her look even more charming than usual. She was so beautiful that it could move one's soul. She was overjoyed. If all 6 military districts bought it, it would be 5 to 6 times more. That was a 10 billion order. Secretary Tang, the Tang clan must have put in a lot of effort. Thank you for your hard work. Jiang Tian, on the other hand, was very relaxed. He took a sip of tea in satisfaction and nodded in praise. The only one who could speak to the Empress in Lin Province was the head of the Tang clan, Tang Hongtu, in the General Staff Department. As for Lingnan Military District, it was most likely Fierce Tiger's head instructor, Elder Tang. He shook his head inside. The Tang clan went to such lengths to invite him to instruct Zhan Hu. It wouldn't be easy for him to refuse. Sigh, Master Kong has given the Tang clan a new lease on life. What can we do for him? Tang Weimin said politely. The matter was quickly settled. On the second day, Zhao Xueqing represented the corporation and the Empress to finalize the agreement. A big deal that made others endlessly envious was easily accomplished just like that. On this day, Yang City's Yuanyuan Pharmaceutical Company sent a representative to Lin Province to negotiate with Zhao Xueqing. The meeting was held at a 5-star hotel. At night, Jiang Tian accompanied Zhao Xueqing. Yuanyuan Pharmaceutical Company sent a vice president, Ji Zhuofan, a third-generation member of the Ji clan. Is this Chairman Zhao? Welcome, welcome. Ji Zhuofan was in his late 20s, handsome and tall. His shirt was white and his pants were as sharp as blades. This person was young and promising. Moreover, he was refined and courteous. With a single glance, one could tell that he was from a large family. As a matter of fact, Ji Zhuofan was among the top 20 young masters in Yangcheng and held a high position in Yuanyuan Pharmaceuticals. He must be cultivating some kind of secret spiritual technique. Jiang Tian also found that he was exuding a strange charm. No, it should be said that he had a very seductive aura. This aura was very similar to that of the 9-tailed demon fox, the leader of the fox charm sect that Jiang Tian had met in the cultivation world. However, there was a huge difference in strength. Zhao Xueqing. This is my husband and also my assistant. Zhao Xueqing introduced herself and politely shook hands with the man. I didn't expect Chairman Zhao to be so beautiful. Ji Zhuofan saw Zhao Xueqing and was startled. His heart was on fire as he praised her. In his heart, he thought, how could a small place like Linzhou always produce beauties? He originally thought that Zhou Xianya was already a peerless beauty, but he didn't expect that when compared to Zhao Xueqing, she would immediately pale in comparison to a yellow-haired maid. He glanced at Jiang Tian but didn't take it to heart. Zhou Xianya said he's a martial arts expert, stronger than Li Jinwei. That means he's a peak internal strength grandmaster, right? Even if he was a transcendent master, he was still inferior to a cultivator who could attack without form. Jiang Tian, Zhao Xueqing, we meet again. What surprised Jiang Tian was that Zhou Xianya was also there. She was close to Ji Zhuofan, looking like his girlfriend. Before this, the Zhou family had offended Jiang Tian time and time again. According to Dragon Fifth and the others' intentions, they should just directly wipe out the Zhou family, but Jiang Tian stopped them. After Jiang Tian and his wife reconciled, he became more compassionate. They were only disrespectful and didn't need to be so ruthless. Later on, he heard that the Zhou clan also felt uneasy. After all, they had offended Jiang Tian, so how could they continue living in Linzhou City? Thus, they sold their national medicine pharmacy to a company in Yang City and moved their entire family to Yang City. Now it seemed the Zhou clan sold their national medicine pharmacy to Yuan, or exchanged their shares. And in the process, she developed feelings for Jizhua Fan. Back in Linzhou, Zhou Xinya was like a mouse before a cat when she saw Jiang Tian. But now, with Jizhua by her side, she seemed to have regained her confidence, her eyes lofty and arrogant. You think you're all that just because you have the Ji clan behind you? You're so short-sighted. Jiang Tian shook his head with a disdainful smile. His heart was filled with disdain. He didn't even look at her and directly sat down. Humph, Jiang Tian, you're still as arrogant as ever. Do you think the Ji clan is just a simple medical clan? The Ji and Wei clans are close. Jizhua Fan was taught by Wei Shuofeng, and even Li Jinwei is afraid of him. You're all that you can do in a small place like Linzhou. How can you compare to Jizhua Fan? Seeing this, Zhou Xinya also felt a great sense of defeat. She was so angry that her full chest heaved up and down as she secretly stomped her feet. Chairman Zhao is too polite. Zhao Xueqing replied politely at Jiang Tian's praise and sat next to him. The banquet began with food and wine, and everyone ate and chatted. The other party brought a business manager and introduced Zhao Xueqing to Yuan Pharmaceuticals. From start to finish, Jiang Tian didn't say a word as he ate. Sometimes he would pour tea for Zhao Xueqing, serve her food, give her napkins, and drink for her. Many in the pharmaceutical industry sighed and shook their heads in disdain. Some thought Jiang Tian was a henpecked husband, a pet boy. Some of them were certain that Jiang Tian was useless and didn't know anything. That was why they were so humble. Some felt that it was not worth it for Zhao Xueqing. She was such a talented and beautiful female CEO, yet she was married to a useless man. One had to know that the norm of marriage in China was that the man would marry the weak and the woman would marry the strong. After 3 rounds of wine and 5 dishes, Jizhua Fan raised his cup. Chairman Zhao, there's no need for introductions. I've long heard of the muscle-nourishing ointment. I'll be frank, I'm here tonight to discuss a partnership with you. Chairman Ji, what kind of partnership do you have in mind? Zhao Xueqing sipped her tea. Yuan and Zhao clan will share the patent. Zhao clan will get 50% of the profits from each product. Jizhua Fan smiled. Zhao Xueqing shook her head, but her tone was firm. I won't divulge the recipe or process to you. Chairman Zhao, don't be in such a hurry to refuse. Jizhua Fan was calm and confident. Yuan Pharmaceuticals has pharmacies in 70 large and medium-sized cities across the country, each with at least 1 branch. Yuan Pharmaceuticals is worth 10 billion and the Ji clan is one of Yang City's 10 great clans. One of my uncles is the provincial health department's director. My clan can call the wind and summon the rain. Your company's medicine is very effective. With the addition of Yuan Pharmaceuticals' sales system, you'll be like a tiger with wings. 10 billion a year in sales, even 5 to 6 billion in profit will be within reach. Before Zhao Xueqing could speak, Jiang Tian spoke. Jizhua Fan, don't you get it? There is only one muscle-nourishing ointment, but there are at least 10 pharmacies nationwide. Without you, I can still sell it all over the country. Jizhua Fan looked at Jiang Tian with a bitter smile. Then I'll take a step back. We'll share the patent and I'll give you 80% of the profits. I won't let you know the recipe. Jiang Tian picked his teeth with a toothpick. Otherwise, there's no need to talk. Jiang Tian, I know you have some fame in Lin Province, but I advise you not to be arrogant. How can Lin Province's elites compare to my Ji clan? Jizhua Fan snorted. If I want to know the recipe, who can hide it from me? As he spoke, he suddenly turned his head and stared at Zhao Xueqing. His pupils spun strangely and a black light shone brightly. The black light in his eyes was like a whirlpool, full of strange temptation, making people have the urge to sink into it and be unable to extricate themselves. Master is so charming. Next to him, Zhou Xinya was in a daze. Her eyes were empty, as if her soul was swallowed by the black light. With your insignificant cultivation, you dare to show off your magic in front of me? Jiang Tian's face darkened as he snorted in disdain. The black light in Ji Zhuofan's eyes was the evil wheel eye art, a type of mental attack. In the early stages, it could see through objects, in the middle stages it could control souls, and at its peak it could even destroy the enemy's soul. Ji Zhuofan had no talent in medicine, but when he was 8, Wei Xiaofeng saw his talent in eye arts and took him in as a disciple. The whole Ji clan was overjoyed. By the time he was 20, his cultivation method had reached the great success stage and his power was on par with Yang Guocheng, a Dao initiation stage cultivator. After Ji Zhuofan joined Yuanyuan Pharmaceuticals, he was a vice president on the surface, but in reality he was in charge of the business intelligence team. He relied on the evil wheel eye art's powerful mental power to hypnotize and enslave people. Spying on trade secrets and even obtaining core formulas were as easy as pie for him. He was always successful and invincible. So what if Jiang Tian is a martial expert? Do you think you can keep the formula? Ji Zhuofan snorted and the black light in his eyes shot towards Zhao Xueqing's mind like an arrow, trying to grab her memories. With this evil spell alone, he had taken control of countless wealthy families and enslaved countless young ladies and actresses. You're dead. Just as the black light was about to invade Zhao Xueqing's mind, Jiang Tian let out a low shout. A golden light shot out from Jiang Tian's forehead like a bolt of lightning and hit the black light. Jiang Tian's soul was condensed from the god-transforming pill. It was as fast as lightning, fierce and indestructible. How could Ji Zhuo's meager mental power stand a chance against it? Like ice meeting fire, or butter meeting a sharp blade, Ji Zhuofan's mental power was crushed by Jiang Tian. The sound of sparks flashing could be heard in the air. Ji Zhuofan's head felt like it was hit by a sledgehammer. His body trembled and fell on his back. In an instant, blood flowed out of his 7 orifices, and his face was ghastly pale. He really looked like a demon that had crawled out from hell. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.